but what did you expect to find?
An answer.
That's not crazy, is it?
How come I know so much? What the hell is going on around here? Who the hell are you people?
Name that movie. I bet you can't. Oh, yeah. Live from Las Vegas, Nevada, this is the Irrational Male. I am in Studio B. That means I'm at home. Kyle has the day off. He is celebrating Miguel Munoz's birthday. That's his brother, so give him the day off. But the upside is you might see Ned today, who's more popular than I am on my show. Today we're going to talk about women's needs. Everything's that friggin' need, man. It's never a want, it's a need. All right. Thank you. Thank you for joining the most exciting, only red pill podcast still out there. Last man standing. I am the third R of the red pill, third R of the manosphere. Rollo, Royce, and Roosh. Only one of us remains. And you got him right here today on our show. Did you like that? There we go. Check this out. It's like, God, it's so funny when I feel like sometimes I need to introduce some of these videos, but not this one.
This is a day in the life of a stepdad. I wake up at 6 a.m. and say good morning to my super hot wife. After that, it's time for stepdad duties. My wife told me it's my responsibility to do the household chores every day. After all, she's not looking for a man. She's looking for a man to step up. Then after that, it's time to drop Laquan Quan off at school. He's such a good kid.
Okay, buddy, have a good day at school. I love you.
Man, shut up!
At 3 p.m., my wife lets me watch sports for 30 whole minutes. Then at 5 p.m., I cook a healthy dinner. Then I let Schnookums know that the food is ready. Then it's time for family dinner.
Oh, how was everybody's day?
Man, shut up!
Ah, those two are just so adorable together. At 10 p.m., it's finally time for bed. Maybe my family will respect me tomorrow. And that's my day.
The conversation of what does a woman bring to the table, because a woman makes your life better. Like, I didn't marry my wife because she brought shit to the table. I married my wife because I loved her and she made me happier. And when we were together, we were more aligned. My life experience became infinitely better because I was happier with her in it. I wasn't looking at, like, what do you bring to this relationship? I didn't give a fuck. That's what men do. We bring things to the table. It is our duty to come forward with things and provide for the family, where it's her job to just be there, because I don't expect anything from her other than us to have a good life together.
Just be there. That's all you got to do.
With 47 men, called every single one of them toxic, and now she wants you, the stable, boring, reliable guy, to wife her up. Congratulations. You've been selected as the retirement plan. And the scariest part? Most men will say yes, because nobody told them the rules of this game, until now. Here's what they don't teach you in school, and definitely not at home. After years of choosing excitement over standards, chaos over commitment, and he's just so mysterious over a man who actually calls back, something shifts. The body clock ticks. The fun stops being fun. And suddenly, the same woman who ghosted every good man she ever met starts posting about wanting something real. Real. Cute. She doesn't want you, brother. She wants what you represent. Stability, peace, a mortgage, and someone to split the therapy bill with. The nice guy she rejected at 22 is now her retirement strategy at 32. And because nobody told him his value, he's flattered, he's grateful, he thinks he finally won. He didn't win. He got promoted to janitor, cleaning up a mess he didn't make. Don't be the man who works on himself for a decade, builds something real, and then hands it over to someone who only noticed you after the options dried up. Know your worth before someone decides to discover it for you. Standards aren't arrogance, they're self-respect with a backbone.
Every time a man's being nice to you, all he's doing is offering dick.
marriage, you can't say, I'm not having sex anymore, without also saying, you're not having sex anymore. Marriage is a sexually exclusive relationship, so the promise not to have sex outside it carries an implicit agreement that sex will happen within it. Therefore, any change to that arrangement isn't one person's decision to make, it belongs to both of you. So, while anyone has a right to opt out of sex, at some point, opting out of sex in your marriage starts to look a lot like opting out of the marriage itself. So, am I saying there's an inherent pressure to have sex?
Is anybody else like tired of British accents? Jesus Christ. It's like the manosphere is like this, like fog. It's like this haze over the British Empire.
In marriage, that it's not 100% an individual choice. Isn't that coercion, specifically within the context of a safe, stable and loving marriage? No. Every part of marriage comes with expectations. You're expected to show up emotionally, be kind on difficult days, manage your finances responsibly, and remain accountable for the life you're building together.
Yes, I'm 100% aware that this is AI, so just bear with me.
Nobody calls that coercion. It's just what a shared life requires. The discipline of being...
What do you think the prompt was for this? I need kind of like this pudgy, white, Karen-looking girl with a British accent. What do you got, Chat GPT?
Being genuinely committed to your partner's well-being and the willingness to occasionally put the needs of the marriage above your own. Sex is no different.
Oh, here's a non-British accent.
Speak to the fact that I hear a lot that men will complain that their wife is not initiating as much as they like, but she never initiates. And I'm like, she doesn't have 900 level of testosterone. The person who has that greater need is going to be the one who initiates more. That's just, you bet if you can disassociate a lack of initiation as meaning she doesn't want me, that's very helpful. I would look more for receptivity as a better means or influence of like, why is she, you know, if it can, when I go to her, is she receptive? Okay, let's go. Also, there's also a kind of poo-pooing of the idea of duty sex. And I'm like, you know what? I say go for it, guys. Go for duty sex. And here's why. Is women, a lot of times, there's a lag. So sometimes they have to physically, like when you go to the gym, you don't always want to hit the gym, but you know, ultimately once you get there, you're happy you did it, right? Very much the same thing with duty sex for women. So if she's like, oh, I'm not really in it, but okay. And you're like, oh, well, forget it. Never mind. You just robbed yourself out of a good time there, because now what guys are saying with duty sex is they don't want the woman to go in there and hem and haw and do the starfish. They want them to at least minimally participate, right? So
they want a good actress.
What I'd like guys to do is to acknowledge that your wife is showing up in the way that she can, and that's not to be disrespected. It's to be embraced and appreciated. And then what you can do is take that opportunity to really thank her and be like, babe, I so appreciate that. I feel so good. Thank you so much. I love when you show up for me. I know you just did this for me. So you're giving her this positive feedback that you acknowledge at least the efforts. It gets you closer to where you want to be. Because what's going to happen next time is she's going to be like, oh, well, I'm not really in the mood, but gosh, look how we responded last time. It motivates.
So it's all like this reciprocal transactional thing. I'll come back to this. This is Monica. Monica's a very good friend of mine, by the way. Actually, my wife and I went out to dinner with her and her husband the other night. And I'll tell you right now, she's a kick in the pants. One of these days, I'm going to get her on the show.
First of all, I'm really shocked because, mind you, I'm not there. We haven't called each other husband and wife in a long time. I'm like, what is going on right now?
Do you ever wanted to see the face of like cognitive dissonance and like neuroses? This is the face I would use.
My wife's name out of your mouth, right? And I'm like, but now I'm really worried for Will because I don't know what's going on. Chris looks to me and he says, Jada, I meant no harm. Now I'm just out of it because I'm really worried about
And what's Will doing? He's just sitting there?
And Will's still talking. He's like, he's still, because now he's mad because Chris is talking to me. And I go, Chris, this is about some old That's all I could think to say, right? And I couldn't really take in his apology.
You became the bad guy. Look what Jada made him do.
Jesus Christ, she is the bad guy. That's the whole point. I mean, Christ. This has been going on since 2020. Remember the first time I did a reaction piece, I did a full dedicated reaction piece. So when she was on the Red Table Talk or something like that, when she brought, I think she was trying to do, I mean, does she still have her own podcast? Maybe she does. But she brought Will on, and that's when she was talking and trying to explain her way out of the August Alsina entanglement. Trust me, we're 6 years into this. She's the bad guy, I think.
She rolled her eyes, and look what he did. He ran up there and hit Chris. Yeah. Poor Will. That's what the narrative became.
Yeah.
So poor Will because of the
adulterous wife.
Yeah.
Who forced him to go to the table and sit there. You know what I mean? And now look at what she's.
Look at the absolute lack of any reality in this face.
Done. She has the power with an eye roll to make him go up and.
This is like Brittany Renner level of obsessive compulsive schizophrenia.
Slap somebody on stage.
She's nothing without Will. You wouldn't even know her name. I mean, she was in she was in the Matrix, right? She was in the second Matrix. What else has she done? You would not even know who Jada Pinkett Smith, who kept her name, right? Jada Pinkett Smith. You would not even know who she was if it were not for Will Smith.
Oh, now, first of all.
Yeah, that's it for that. Oh, I don't know who this dude is. He keeps showing up in my timeline. People said I needed to address it, so here you go.
Ultimately, the manosphere functions like a cult. What does a cult do? A cult preys on the vulnerable. Who's vulnerable? Young men.
Look at his voice. What the hell?
Young men without a father figure. When a man doesn't have a father figure, I lost my father early due to cancer. Other men might have an absent father growing up. All of that means they'll be searching for a masculine role model.
Guys, all of these Freudian, Jungian, no-betters come out of the, is it British? What is that accent, right? It just come out of the woodwork now after everybody. It's funny because it seems like Louis Theroux and the Manosphere, Inside the Manosphere documentary, whatever, gave all these dudes permission to just jump on the BBC Radio London or wherever else. I have no idea who this dude is. I looked at his Instagram. I mean, I guess he's been around, but he just kind of sounds like this weesh. God, I'm trying to think of who the guy who gives advice, not Mark Manson, but Matt Hussey, or it's kind of along those same lines.
And the manosphere speaks to their wound, but without holding them accountable to their wound. It leads them further into pain rather than actually helping them.
Right. So it's all about your childhood grief and everything.
You chose poorly.
The dangerous person in your marriage has 847,000 followers and has never met you, but your spouse watches them every night. I'm not exaggerating when I say that social media has changed the nature of what I watched unfold in divorce cases. The comparisons are constant. The access to other people, real and imagined, is constant. The drip feed of other lives that look better, easier, and more exciting than yours is constant. And here's what that does to a marriage. It manufactures dissatisfaction out of things that were fine. I went through a high conflict divorce myself. I know what the end of a real relationship costs. And I watch people now risk that cost for a version of life they saw on a screen, built by strangers who are also miserable, but post better than you do. The algorithm is not rooting for your marriage. It is optimized for your attention. And your attention is most easily captured by the belief that somewhere, someone is living a life better than yours. They are not. I promise you.
I don't know who this dude is, but he's on par with Jim Sexton. God, I'm gonna get popped for that. Just watch this. I don't want to I want to make sure that music doesn't get on there. I think this is Jubilee, actually. I mean, this chick basically guns down every last. It's at this point, it's almost like a game, right? And so the guys pick up on it, and what do? Well, I know why they did this one. This is like Gen Z speed dating. Yeah, look how huge she is. She's all right, I guess, but there's a tats. Okay, whatever. I don't mind tats, but like, I think she's a little heavy. This chick. Look at that fucking. Oh yeah, he's sure. Essentially, that's Gen Z speed dating. And last but not least, this is stupid.
Hey, baby. What's good, bro? How you doing? You been working out? That's good. Good to see you. Have a hug? Yeah. All right, bro. I'll catch you around, all right?
Peace out. Oh, gosh. Welcome, guys. Welcome. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I'm going to actually, I think I might just opine on some videos here today. I'm here, as you can see, in my home studio today. I haven't done this in a while. Yeah, I can't think of anything more cringe either. Get your super chats in. Today's the day to do it because I am more than happy to let you guys take the show. This is your show. This is not my show. This is your show. I started thinking about that on Access Vegas. You go, why do I keep doing Access Vegas? I don't make too much money off of it. It's just like, we make Taco Bell money. We can go out and pay for dinner or something like that. But I do it because everybody digs on it, and we get ratioed. I get ratioed into the ground no matter what I do. People saying that YouTube has changed its algorithm and then changed sort of the way that they push things up in the impressions. And you probably noticed if you follow this channel, I have been putting up a lot more shorts recently. Thank God for the cutting features that StreamYard now offers. Makes everything very streamlined. I have been doing this show. I've been doing on StreamYard since the early days. Since StreamYard was in the beta testing phase, I've been doing StreamYard. I can remember when we were doing it. We were doing a show on. We did the Redman group way back in the day. On YouTube used to have their version of what was it called? It was meetups or something like that. Not hookups, meetups or something like that. And then they just, for whatever mysterious reason, like YouTube just decided to just kill that. They have a YouTube studio. Rumble has a studio now too. I haven't really looked into Rumble. I know, people keep saying, why don't you do what's it? OBS. Like OBS dude, like the OBS thing. Yeah, OBS Studios. Or Riverside. Mike likes Riverside quite a bit, but I'm a StreamYard guy. I'm going to stay StreamYard for a while. I think they're great. I've never had a problem with them. Except for, finally they got around to like doing dark mode, which because here's a reason why I always was screaming for dark mode is because I have this, you guys don't see it, but I have my monitor. I have about a 40-inch monitor that's right in front of me right now. So I can look at my smiling mug as I'm talking to you guys. And the problem is like when there was no dark mode, I used to have to find ways to sort of like darken down the screen because the glare from the screen like just blew out my face. And so I have this wonderful, $1,200, $1,400 lens, and it's all for nothing because I just get blown out by the video monitor display, the light. But finally they decided to do that. That's the only thing. The only thing I really wanted was dark mode, and they gave me dark mode. So, but I love it. Anyways, yeah. What do you got here? Let's see. Friends and family thought I'm stupid for being honest and authentic. Now I'm growing, and they're shocked. Actionable information. The rational male. Thank you. Yeah. Well, they're always going to be that way. Like when. This is just, doesn't have to be manosphere stuff. It's like when people especially guys make like a personal change or something like that, people want you to stay the same. They want you to, you want me to put the logo on? I could do that. See, the reason I don't do that is because these are, let me explain something to you. These are the media assets I have here. Is that it? There you go. You like that? There. Everybody happy? Maybe I should just put it in the little bug up there in the left or in the right there. Maybe that'll work better for me. No, it's just, yeah, here. Okay, let's do, I could just sit here all day with the book next to me. It's funny. It's like, I've never looked at this show as like, I mean, obviously it's outrage. Obviously it's clips. Obviously it's, I I don't make much money off of this show because it's long form. People don't have time to listen to a 4-hour podcast. If you're in right now, you're one of the diehards. You're one of the tribe for sure. You want to roll those rednecks too. But most people don't have 4 hours to listen to this show. I only do this once a week, right? And so I'm being forced to do more short form content, which I will do, but I'm an author before anything else. I write articles. I just posted an article on Twitter, on X, Twix, on Twitter today. And that gets pushed up in the algorithm. I realize that there's just this big announcement, by the way, on Twitter about how they're now sort of ratioing or like downplaying or however they do it. The people who are just copy paste us, and breaking news. The people who want to do 100 tweets per day. And and all they're doing is just spamming the algorithm, and it takes a lot of work. I'm not going to say because I know because you have to like look for the stuff, and then you have to know what's worth like retweeting, I guess. But you got to be original now. You got to actually work for it. You actually have to do something that's real content. You got to come up with new ideas. Same thing with the YouTube algorithm as well. It's not enough for me to just harp on what everybody else has been saying. Apparently, I mean, this is what I'm getting from all the YouTube marketing like content that I'm being shown in my feeds. And essentially what they want you to do is like, I'm in a niche that's like really overplayed right now. So a lot of people are, do the same kind of content. Like when the Louis Theroux Manosphere documentary came out, I knew everybody was going to hit on it. So you got to jump on that pretty quick if you want to get pushed up in the algorithm. So either you do it right then and there immediately and hit it or quit it, and then just, or else you're just going to be playing catch up and you're never going to come up in the impressions. Or you can just simply buy engagement like certain influencers that I know that, again, I don't like, I've got these 2 plaques on the wall right now for my 100,000 viewer subscriber whatever achievement awards from YouTube. I got one for my clips channel. I got one for this channel. And essentially YouTube saying, yeah, never mind. Those are worthless because subs don't make any difference anymore. All that makes difference is engagement, all like qualified views and people who comment and engaged viewers. And it's all broken down into like 45-second buzz clips. And like if I wanted that, like I would go to TikTok or Instagram. Actually, I think Instagram is probably better for that. That's what I expect on Instagram. Like, God forbid you like put anything like really informational on Instagram, because Instagram is like pretending you're famous, pretending you're a celebrity. I do it too. I'm mea culpa, man. I do the same shit, man. That's for people who want you to think that their lives are more interesting than they actually are. I think my life is pretty interesting. And so, but I put a few things on there, and, I do enjoy, I will say this, I'm not above a little bit of self-indulgence on Instagram. But again, it's, if you look at my Instagram page, which is rational_male, you'll find me. Okay. And, just go look at my gallery. It's just nothing but like clips. I mean, there's some shots of me, and some of it's just kind of fooling around and everything like that. Everybody says you should curate your Instagram, and you should, unless you're Rolla Tomasi, because I use it for advertising, and I use it for advertising this channel, so people will watch, and so people will buy the book, and so people will get engaged in the sort of the talk and the community and conversation. So it's really more like outreach. But I'm going to tell you right now, Substack is actually becoming more profitable. It's becoming more of I think it's a higher quality platform, certainly than Twitter. I think it's kind of funny that Twitter is promoting articles. They want you to write articles now. That they will boost up, and not all at once. Like I wrote an article. Let's see, I usually try to get an article like on Twitter once a week, and if I do it on a Monday, I drop it on a Monday. By Thursday, it's up to 20,000. Maybe it's up to 30,000 views, which is good. It's good. It's still good engagement, right? If it's really good and it really like irritates people and agitates people, then I might be at 100,000. but it slowly, incrementally boosts and boosts and boosts. And I noticed this because I see, like, I'm looking at these people who are like retweeting my articles. I'm like, I don't even know who these people are. I don't even know if they follow me. But for whatever reason, people like seem to retweet articles more. And I think that might have more to do with like the Twitter algorithm than anything else. I've been on Twitter for God knows how long now. That's probably where I am most accessible, in case people were wondering. You can also DM me all the time. I have DMs kind of semi-open. They're semi-private on Twitter. If I don't know you, it'll still like say, do you want to engage with this person? And then if I think you're not a troll, then I will like DM back. On Instagram, it's like anything goes. People can tell me to go to hell on Instagram, and I just either delete it or I'll just engage, whatever it is. But so that's kind of like how I run my show, just to give you guys an idea. I do this show because it's outreach. I do the show because I enjoy it. I do the show because I love you guys. But this is really kind of your show too, and so is Access Vegas. And so when people say you need to do this or you need to do that, don't tell me what I need to do, but if you like give me an idea or a suggestion, I'll certainly take it under consideration. I've dedicated full shows to people's ideas occasionally. Just don't tell me you should do this. Yeah, not quite. All hail. Wait, here you go. Anytime you give me the God Emperor, I give you that. Rollo, how are you doing, brother? I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. I still have the bandage switches. I have to. Really want me to gross you out? I have basically a gunshot wound, right on my lower. It's on my right side of right about the midsection, right on my side here. It's like in the side meat, where my ileostomy was, and then they reconnected me. But it's not the kind of thing that just heals up. You can't just like stitch it together. Okay, you're done. It's like a hole, right? Because they have to make a hole right there. And so what happens is it has to heal from the bottom up, like from the inside out. And so that requires my wife to pull out the old nasty shit and put in the new nasty shit that's going to be the old nasty shit. It's basically packing like wadding and stuff in there. And little by little, like we're using much less these days, but it's healing. It's coming together. That's really the most like, it's hard for me to like explain the pain of it. Like it still hurts like fuck right now, right? I still have to take. They had me on OxyContin, but I don't like that shit, so I got rid of that. I'm okay with like Tylenol right now. That's basically all I want to do. But it's okay. It's just sore right now, and I can't lift, so it's really more a psychological thing than anything. They won't let me lift. Like my surgeon says I can't lift until May. So, but gradually I'll get back to it. But the other thing is like when you put the fucking it's like this ribbon kind of like bandaging that has to go in there. And first of all, it's weird. And then second of all, it like feels it's painful when it's like, so when you ever play that game Operation when you were a kid, and if you like touch the side of the hole, like that, that's what it's like. And so putting it in and then like, putting a bandage over it and everything else, it's kind of like a weird, like, when you get like heebie-jeebies like that, like your butterflies in your stomach kind of thing, or you'd see somebody like you see somebody who's hurt like in a weird way, and you go, oh, and it kind of goes up your neck. That's what it feels like. And it's painful, but it's painful in like a pinchy kind of painful way, or like an electric shock kind of way. And it's hard to describe because it's almost like a tickle pain, if that makes sense. But it's getting better. I mean, what am I? I'm a pussy. Yeah, I can deal with it. What is the average disadvantage? What is the advantage or disadvantage of a male way of organizing societies? Very good question. I'm glad you asked that, because that's actually going to be part of what we're going to talk about today. When we get to women's needs, and why are women's needs more important than men's needs, or why are we even focused on needs at all? Right? But the advantages and disadvantages. So you have to remember the ways that men and women organize societies in the first place. Okay, so make the clip starts here. Make the clip here. Men and women organize societies differently. The first way that is, if you look at the masculine way of doing it, men tend to organize society in hierarchies. Now, a lot of people want to say that those are dominance hierarchies, but they are really performance hierarchies. So who does the most or the hardest or the best or the most clever or like the most appreciable job, right? So we tend to see this in hierarchies when, like, in the military, in the workplace. Like I've said before a million times, there's the admiral and then there's the generals, and I'm butchering the chain of command, like all the way down to the private, right? Or then you've got the CEO and the CFO and the COO and middle management all the way down to the janitor. Okay, that's how guys establish a social order. That's how men tend to look at things in hierarchies. And they're really, like, women like to say, well, those are dominance hierarchies and men need to be more dominant. Blah, blah. I'm like, no, those are performance hierarchies. And that's, I think, one of the problems that women have when they enter the workplace, or they enter into sort of the masculinized male domain. Right? So when women want to be a CEO or a boss babe or something like that, they're playing a male game, a male hierarchy game. So people say, "Oh, it's a boys club, or it's a man's world, or it's the old man's club, or old man's their private club kind of thing." And they're not wrong. It is, but this is what you signed up for. This is what you wanted. You wanted in, and now you're in. So you are going to deal with things in a hierarchy. The problem with that is that women innately want to organize societies and the workplace, and probably pretty much anything else you can think of, in communitarian ways. And I say communitarian because it's the nicest way to say, like, a collectivism. Egalitarianism seems like a very good way to organize society. Like, everybody just gets along. And you can see this in gendered language or gendered concepts like respect, for example. And I have to point this out. I'm glad you actually said that, because I have to point out that respect is a gendered concept. I've said this 100 different times and in 100 different ways, but if you look at the dictionary definition for respect, there are two different definitions for respect. One of them is the merit-based hierarchical way of considering respect. What do you do as a man that makes you respectable? Like when people say you ain't shit, right? But, well, okay, well, why do you say that? Well, because I don't have the same kind of respect hierarchy that you have, right? But there's still a performance hierarchy that is part of that respectability. Like, what makes a man respectable? Well, usually the job he does. Is he competent in certain things? Is he competent in many things? I was on the Woke Autopsy podcast just when was that? Thursday. I think it was Thursday night. Wednesday or Thursday night. It's out. It's available. You can go get it. It's called, just look it up. Just check it out on YouTube. It's called Woke Autopsy. And we talked about the female teacher student statutory grape epidemic. Primarily, we talked about that. But we also got into issues of how men and women organize societies, and respect and not really dominance, but performance hierarchies. Like what is it that you do? How do you perform as a man? It's the male burden of performance. If you've read my book, well, heck, it's in this book here. It's in the first book, but also more recently in my Reignite book, I go into great detail about the burden of performance, because I think that I try to cover some of the concepts in that book that people tend to confuse the most, or they have the most questions about. Like, frame is something that features prominently in that book. Also, the mental point of origin is something that needed a little bit more detailing. I talk about that quite a bit, but also the inter-reaction between all of those concepts, sort of like the synchronicity or the synergies, whatever, between all of those things. And a lot of that, if you look at frame and what is frame? Well, it's money, muscles, and game. Well, how do you estimate like a good frame? That's based on your burden of performance. Well, burden of performance is what we're talking about right here. How men and women organize societies. Men organize it hierarchically because we are respecting what it is that you do. How well do you perform? And again, it doesn't have to be this it's contextual, right? It doesn't have to be this unitary kind of everything's on a standard template kind of thing. It's contextual. Right? So are you a musician? Okay, great. How well do you play guitar? Right. Okay. Well, if you're not a musician, you're not in that context, nobody cares, right? But but people still kind of have a respect for like creative competence or business competence or mathematical competence or name it, right? There's different domains of competency, and all of your competency is dependent upon your burden of performance. How well do you perform? Why should I respect you? Show me why, like, show me the diplomas on your wall. Why do doctors put diplomas on their wall? Well, so everybody knows that they can legally perform, do medicine in that state. But also, you like to know that your doctor or surgeon in this case has been to, I don't know, 12 years of medical school and completed his residency and knows what the hell he's doing, right? I have a very high respect for everyone on the Desert West surgery team right now. Because I have never entered into that realm before until the last year. And so now I have a new respect for very good surgeons who can do what I need them to do and essentially save my life. And I think you should too, because I would not be here if it were not for them. So there's that performance hierarchy. That's how men organize societies. That's how we get a democratic republic. That's how we get the ideas for representative, democracies. That's how we get the idea of how we should, like, okay, why do we, you can just say, okay, we can turn it into a hegemony, right? We can turn it into a, monarchy. Well, why does that make sense? Well, it does, because you got the king is the highest part of the highest part of the dominance hierarchy or the performance hierarchy. Now, he might not deserve to be there, but the position is there for a reason, right? But then we say, okay, maybe that's not the best way to organize societies. How about we have a president and we have a Congress and we have a Senate, whatever it is. Again, hierarchies. And that's how men naturally organize societies. Women, on the other hand, because we developed from hunter-gatherer societies, men were the hunters, and women would reward the hunters with sex if they came back with the large kill and the most meat, right? Whoever came back with the biggest amount of stuff, right? Or it might be the guy who's the best dude who makes all of the mud huts in the village, right? The guy who makes the best or the most durable form of housing, right? He might be, or maybe it's the best fisherman, or maybe it's the best guy, the guy who figured out, horticulture. I don't know, whatever it is. Creative intelligence is also rewarded, but again, it's a dominance hierarchy or competency hierarchy, I should say, or performance hierarchy. But that doesn't seem like the best way for women to organize societies, because women are the vulnerable sex, and so therefore they have to rely on strength and numbers. And what that means, like if you've ever heard the term, it takes a village to raise a child, that's where that's natural. It's baked into women's evolutionary firmware. Right? It seems like the most logical way to do it, right? And I completely understand. That's how you get, the participation trophy generation. Well, you get one. Everybody deserves to feel special, and that actually is the second definition of respect. So the first definition is merit-based respect. The second definition is everybody deserves common courtesy. Everybody. All right. This is a little too early for this, but I'll give you this already. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for the Lisa Sparks reminder. Would you, since you're here, let me show you that actually you're not incorrect. This is me and Lisa Sparks. This is our secret marriage right here. Oh, but we honeymooned in Las Vegas, just so you know. Okay. And here's some other great shots. As is us is the Palms. Yeah, Palms is a great place. Yeah, we just had a very, very special time. It was very magical in in Las Vegas. Yeah, I mean that's really why I'm here. Shh, don't tell my wife. And yeah, that's us. We kind of we still kind of seen each other on the side, so just keep it on the down low, man. Please don't say nothing. And you're banned. Yeah. What a cute couple. Thank you. I keep those on tap just for that motherfucker right there. Yeah. Is that AI? Dude, wait, hold on. Hold on. Is that? Yes, dude. Come on. Give me a little credit, Brett, my friend. Give me a little credit. All right. Is that AI? I don't know. Is it? Oh, Keeps you guessing though, doesn't it? So what's the advantage and disadvantage? Well, okay, the advantages and the disadvantages. I think the major disadvantage of organizing societies collectively in the female way advantage a male way of organizing. So you asked just particularly about the male way. The male way is in an ideal world, performance and status is measured by competency. Now, that's definitely arguable in 2026, but what is rewarded? What is like who does the best job, right? Who has the best position? Like what is respectable about that guy? I think that because really the advantage primarily of patriarchy, and I'm not talking about the ideological patriarchy, I mean like the way of organizing society, way of patriarchy, is that it is in an ideal sense, ideally, is a more balanced system than gynocentrism, than feminism, than what we have right now, wokeism, which is essentially gynocentric. We should just stop calling it wokeism and just call it gynocentrism, because essentially that's what it is. I think we've pretty much well established the fact that liberal wokesy mindset is really a female specific psyche mindset. If you don't believe me, all you've got to do is just look at stats like this. That's wokeism right there. That's wokesyism right there. Okay. When you're pushing plus 30% liberal by 2022, yeah, I think it's pretty well established that wokeism is gynocentrism. I don't see why we don't, like, they're just basically synonymous at this point. That's all of the policies, all of the behaviors, all of the what we think are best practices. Because this is really, like, when you look at this, you say, oh, conservative or liberal. Okay, progressivism, wokeism versus tradcon, conservatism. I don't know what you're conserving really, but traditionalism, maybe that's a better way to put it. Why is it that men have but pretty much stayed the same and women have like gone radically to the left? Well, because gynocentrism is what the normative state is right now. And since I'm on this topic anyways, I'll just dive into this, because I was going to get into this later today, but I might as well do it now. One of the things I'm a little bit sick of hearing from guys like that guy from the BBC, that guy who was on the BBC talking shit about the manosphere. Like, everybody suddenly has permission to talk shit about the manospheres. They want to say, like, oh, these manosphere guys it's like a cult. No, this is it right here. And it's not a cult. If there's a cult, it's on the plus 30 liberal side. It's wokesyism. It's the cult of the woke, right? It's this radical ideology. People say, oh, those red pill guys like Rollo or Andrew Tate or whoever else. Like, they can never name any names, right? But they want to turn Andrew Tate into a cult leader, which, of course, he's Osama bin Laden already. So it's just one more step to, being, I don't know, David Carrat or Jim Jones, but really, essentially what you're looking at an ideological divide. This isn't a political divide. This is an ideological divide. So the ideology, of course, is if you're going liberal, wokesy, progressivist, what is that? What are the tenets of that? What's the, how do we describe that? How do we define plus 30 liberal? Well, the thing is that really since the sexual revolution, we have normalized the female experience as the normative experience, right? So society, social, the way we organize it, the way men ought to think, the way women ought to think, is primarily informed by a female experience. And I was saying this on the Woke Autopsy podcast last week, that once that normative has been established, once you have a normative woke culture, monoculture, anything that is a derivative of that, anything that is against that, anything that's a counter to that is aberrant, right? So masculinity is aberrant. Masculinity is insecurity. Masculinity is toxic. Masculinity is like any sort of like an ambiguous, subjective definition or trait that you can put on masculinity is that can make it aberrant, that can make it sort of away from the norm, like not normal. Okay, fine. The question then becomes, what's normal? Well, what's normal is this. What's normal is plus 30 liberal at the top of that scale right there. That's what's normal. So if that's the normality, if everybody ought to be way up at the top there, if society in general, like a normal society, is relying on the way women interpret the world and women see the world through collectivism, through egalitarianism, rather than through performance hierarchies, right? Like men, right? If that's the norm, and there's that far that like from a realistic, a rational perspective, if you look at that even line right there in the center, that ought to be the normative, like just straight across, right? But the further you go to either side, like super conservative or super liberal, it depends on which gender, which sex is the normative one, which one is the correct way of thinking, what works best for what's best practices. Because a liberal mindset, a progressivist mindset, a female specific gynocentric mindset is really an explanation, or it's an explanation of why they think those best practices ought to be the best practices, right? Best practices: immigration, no borders, healthcare for everyone. Think of any like pie in the sky, like sort of liberal progressivist, like think of the craziest one you can think of. I will guarantee you I can trace back to the root of that idea, how that would work best for women in a hunter-gatherer society. Like why that seems like it's logic. To women it seems like it's logic, but the problem is like it doesn't work in a chaotic world, dangerous world that depends on men to provide women with the security enough so that they can come up with those ideas in the first place. So the advantage, I think, here's the advantage of having a male specific way, like I'm just going to say patriarchal way of organizing society, because in an ideal patriarchy, men are not only responsible for their families and for their collective, for their tribes, for their religion, for their communities. Not only are they responsible for that, and that's all of that starts with the family. They have to be able to exercise authority over those organizations, over those areas of society, or the theaters of society, whatever you want to call them. So a man has to be able to, at least in some way, have the authority to affect the responsibility that everyone expects of him, right? That's my main gripe, by the way, with traditional conservative guys. Like they will say, like I'm sure this guy, like I was just showing you before, he was talking about, I don't like that conversation about bringing anything to the table. She just shows up. I'm like, oh, that's kind of madness. But I understand where it originated from, because it originated from a time when patriarchy was the standard. And I mean a beneficial kind of patriarchy, where a man has to be responsible for his wife and for his family and for his tribe and for his extended family and for his children. And if the children fuck up, then he has to be the one to take it on the chin. He's the one who's responsible for it. If the wife fucks up, he's the one who's responsible for it. But guess what? He was also afforded the authority to exercise that responsibility, to affect that responsibility. And that's where we're at right now, is there's still this old school 19th and 20th century expectation of men being men and us taking more responsibility. And it seems very logical to a traditional conservative mindset that the solution to today's horrible, gender gap and men dropping out and like men need to man up and men need to do better. Like the solution is always men need to take more responsibility. Well, we do. That's the problem. Is men go, okay, fine, load it on. But the thing is they're not afforded the authority to say, this is my family and this is how I'm going to run things, and you're going to defer to my authority no matter what. Like, ladies, if you want a man to be responsible and you want him to be the leader in the family, he has to have the authority to tell you no. He has to have the authority to say, fuck this. He has to have the authority to spank you and to spank your kids and to punish as well as reward, as well as build up. But he has to have, that has to be there. Otherwise, it's just responsibility without authority is what? Slavery. And what is 100% authority and no responsibility, that's tyranny. And that's effectively what we have right now. Like here's a very good example.
The conversation of what does a woman bring to the table because a woman makes her life better. Like I didn't marry my wife because she brought shit to the table. I married my wife because I loved her. And
so this is responsibility. I love my I love my wife too, very much so, right? But there's no expectation of anything on the other side. Okay, we're going to talk about this today.
She made me happier. And when we were together, we were more aligned. My life experience became infinitely better because I was happier with her in it. I wasn't looking at, like, what do you bring to this relationship? I didn't give a fuck. That's what men do. We bring things to the table. It is our duty to come forward with things and provide for the family, where it's her job to just be there, because I don't expect anything from her other than us to have a good life together.
Do you expect loyalty from her? Like, can I expect that? Can I expect desire from? Like, is that something that's got? I'm pretty sure that's got to be there. I just reposted this. If you go and you look at my Twitter, it's just today, as a matter of fact. I posted a clip from this show actually, and I put out this. It's a challenge, right? It's a hypothetical. It's a thought experiment, and of course, whenever you do that on Twitter, you do that on any kind of social media, you're getting into murky waters, because people will always take everything as literally as they possibly can. But the premise is this. Imagine for a moment, this is a thought experiment, hypothetical. Okay. Imagine for the moment you've met a woman and she is everything you've ever wanted in a chick. She's like perfect in physicality. She's a 9.5, right? She's absolutely stunningly hot. She is whatever you like, brunettes, blondes, whatever. She's that. Okay. She keeps in shape. She looks good. Has a very good attitude. She is very feminine. She is, I'm trying to think of like I'm trying to cover all my bases here. She's perfect for you in every way. Okay. And she will be a good mother for your children. She likes animals. I don't know. If you want her to make money, fine. If you don't want her to make money, that's fine too. She can do either or. She's pretty much on board with being the perfect wife, okay? The only caveat is this. You cannot have sex with her. Now, of course, people go, well, can I, how are we going to have, well, I would never marry her because I can't have kids. Okay, let's just take that out of the equation right now. You can have kids with her even, and she'll be a really good mother to your children through artificial insemination, right? But you can never, ever have sexual relations with that woman. She'll never give you a blowjob. You can't fuck, nothing. You can't do anything, right? And you're also, she's 100% loyal, and you have to be 100% loyal. You cannot go outside the marriage and to meet your sexual needs, and you cannot rub one out to pornography, because that would be cheating, right? According to trad wife mindset. Right? Now imagine you have the most perfect, traditionally conservative, like love, and she's loving. She'll be affectionate with you. She is absolutely the most perfect wife you could possibly imagine. You can have kids. She's a wonderful mother to your kids, right? Everything lines up except for one thing. You can never, ever have sex with her. Would you marry her? That's a thought experiment, as I was saying, because what will happen is people will try to pick it apart, right? They'll be like, well, can I have the side piece? No, you can't. Can I rub one out to porn? No, you can't. Like you're permanently monk mode, but you're married basically. And you cannot satisfy any sexual needs through anything whatsoever. Would you still marry this woman? Because that's essentially the ideal marriage for trad wives. Essentially, they turn their husbands into incels, and or expect them to be incels. And when you look at this guy who's like saying, I didn't expect anything from my wife. What do you mean bring to the table anything? Like, brother, you would you? Like, I would love to ask this guy the same question. Would you do it? Even if the Lord said, this is your soulmate, this is the person you should marry, would you still marry that person? You just be roommates. I mean, effectively. I mean, you'd be a little more than that. Maybe. I mean, you're still in a loving one. For she's very complimentary. She's affectionate with you, but you cannot ever have sex with her or anything like remotely sexual with her. Would you still marry this woman? Some guys are saying yes. I like in that thread, they'll still say yes. Sex shouldn't, like, what's funny to me is the reason why I bring this up is because I love it when I get this response when I'm talking about how trad wives sort of talk about how their needs get to be met before men's needs are. Well, what's men's needs? Because if you have this wonderful, most perfect chick in the world and you wouldn't marry her because the sex is off the table, well, guess what your need is? I'm just basically trying to illustrate, to get down to get the inception. I'm going down the levels of inception and get to the inception point right there. And it's like, that's pretty much it. That's that's the bottom line. And even that, women have to find some way to intellectualize or emotionalize, or they have to explain to, it's funny to me that especially trad wives or traditional conservative wives, whatever, and not just them, because I see this coming from sort of the liberal side too, which is kind of funny because we're just talking about basically degrees of feminism, right? But what happens is you'll see these women and they'll try to make up reasons as to why men need sex. There has to be some sort of female specific reason why, they've got to figure you out. They all turn into Carl Jung or Sigmund Freud. They all become, sexologists. They all become and of course they're trying to explain it to themselves. It's really sort of this rationalization so they can sort of explain to themselves why men need sex, right? Well, I was watching I'm looking at Monica's this girl,
her to do better for the next time. So I think guys need to realize that the initiation is not going to be as great, so don't always take it so personally, and use duty sex as a positive reinforcement mechanism.
I am gonna say no. I don't want duty sex. Keep that fucking duty sex. Seriously. I used to be of the opinion. I used to think this. I used to think that I don't anymore. I figured the secret out, right? Remember when Conan, the Barbarian, Arnold Schwarzenegger, remember when Conan was trying to figure out the secret of steel? I'm going to teach you the secret of woman right now. The thing is that the desire is more important than the act, especially when it comes that's why I brought up now let's go back to our hypothetical thought experiment that maybe this is an easier way to explain this. Now we go back to we go, okay, now erase all that stuff I said about sex. She will only ever have sex with you begrudgingly when you initiate. And it's only ever going to be starfish, are you done yet? Sex. It's only going to be this uninspired, missionary only sex. Would you still marry her? Knowing beforehand, obviously. This is on the book. We wrote this down and it's part of the prenup, right? If you knew that, okay, she will be sexual now, but only once a month and in starfish position, right? And then from there you can build up, right? The thought experiment you can build up from there. But would you marry her? Okay, now you say still say no. Okay, no, I'm never going to marry her. Okay, well, what if she said twice a month? And so it's almost you're bartering at that point to get up to so what's if we know that we're not going to marry a woman who is 100% perfect for us in every other possible way, imaginable way, except for sex, then sex is a pretty fucking important part of that. So when I look at that guy, Mr. I don't care if she brings anything to the table. No, you care that she brings pussy to the table. The pussy better be fucking on the fucking table, right? Because you will marry her if not. And I hate it when I have to get into these really nuts and bolts. This should be basic math, right? I have to get in these nuts and bolts, visceral, graphic, sometimes conversations about this is how it is. This is it's that important. Yes, it is. That's for all of the expectations that are placed upon guys, like even the I don't even know the guy's name, this dude right here. Let's put him back up for a second.
Conversation of what does a woman bring to the table because a woman makes her life better. Like I didn't marry my wife.
How does she make your life better? Like there has to be something about her. That's something about you. There has to be something that makes your life better. What is that? She's bringing something to the table. What is it that's especially if you, well, let's just be honest. If you're raised in the church and there's no sex before marriage, guess what that something is?
Because she brought shit to the table. I married my wife because I loved her and she made me happier. And
yeah, so but great. I'm happy for you, brother. But what is it? What is it that there are, look, what are those needs? There has to be something there. Something has to be on it. Something has to be on the table. A minimum of one thing has to be on the table. And I think you know what that one thing is. Anyways, let me get this real quick. Women have to fix the world with their feelings because men ruined it with our toxic and oppressive patriarchy. Yes. Well, that's where you get, thank you, Thomas, once again for reminding me. That's where you get feels before reals. Because in a gynocentric social order, in a society that is organized by normalizing the female experience, because that's really what gynocentrism is. It's a normalization. Like society should experience the world through female eyes. And if it doesn't, then men are subhuman. In fact, you don't even get to be human unless you are more like a woman. Like when women say, oh, men need to go to therapy, it's sexy when men go to therapy, blah, 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 blah. No, that therapy is just the religion of feminism right now. Therapy is just the religion of gynocentrism. But the reason, but why would that even be a thought? Why would that be popular? Why do men need to have therapy? Well, because from an emotionalist perspective, that makes sense. It works for women. It should work for men. No, it doesn't, because we're different. It's a fundamental repudiation of the blank slate. Men and women are different. We like different things. We come from different. We're the same species, yes, but our biology, our endocrinology, our brains, our synapses, we are more different. And thank God for Steve Stewart Williams for finally making this public. Like a doctor said this. We're more different than we are alike. And that's okay. There's nothing fucking wrong with that. But when there is something wrong with that? When society is defined by the experience, the existential experience of one sex. And right now, that is female. The correct way to interpret the world is through the female lens. And if you don't, there's something wrong with you, to the point where you need therapy or you need some sort of reconditioning. Or if you're a 13-year-old boy in the UK, you need re-education. Because we're really concerned about you. God forbid anybody with a British accent talking, you're fucked. I'm just gonna say that right now. I keep hearing British accents. It's nothing but anti-manosphere. This I'm like, I don't know what it is in the UK, and Mike, by the way, is going to the UK to do some podcasts, and I was just like, you sure the Interpol's not going to arrest you when you get on the tarmac? But he's going over there. I think they might be doing a Babes in Toyland too. But the normal way to be human at all is to be female. So the more men become like female, it's like sneaky fucker game, right? It's a male feminist, right? The more that guy identifies with a female. We heard this in the 70s, right? Get in touch with your feminine side, as if that was a given. Like we knew for a fact that everybody has a masculine and a feminine, right? No, we don't. That's still fucking theory, okay? And it's dead. It's a dead fucking meme. Like why I talked about this on a podcast on what was it? It was with Jeremy and Caitlin. What the fuck is the name of their podcast? I just shot this like about 2 months ago at Origin, and I was talking about exactly this. I said, why is it that we presume anima and animus? I mean, that's Jung is what that is. And I know I'm distilling it down. People love Jung. They think he's the second coming of fucking Christ, okay? But the idea that we have like a masculine and a feminine inside of us, that's what's been, you want to know how women maintain a normative female correct society? That's how, that ideology alone. Why can't it be men are masculine and women are feminine. Why can't that just be like that? Well, when you change the diapers, then you're getting in touch with your feminine. Or when you braid your daughter's hair, you're getting in touch with your feminine. Why? If gender is just a social construct, why the fuck would that be? Right? Oh, we need to elect more women. We need to put more women in STEM. We need to, put women into positions of power in the legal system and psychology and everything. Why? Because you guys seem to think that gender is just a social construct. Why would that make any fucking difference? Because we're all the blank slate. But see, what's funny is it only works for the feminine. It does not work for the masculine. So if I said, well, we need more men in positions of power. We need more men on local government, which we fucking do. We need more men we need a male mayor. Oh my God, you're sexist. I can't believe that. If they said they want a female mayor, well, then why, if gender is just a construct, put a grizzly bear in there. I don't know. They put whatever you want in there. Why would that make any difference? And so, but you can rationally, you can sort of deconstruct this stupid emotionalism, but you still have to base policy on it. And that's what you want to know, what the greatest advantage of putting of a masculine way of organizing society is. The most major advantage of that is you're essentially organizing society based on empirical, observable facts. It's factual. It's facts based. Sometimes that doesn't jive with what we feel would be the right thing to do, because sometimes the best, most pragmatic, practical thing to do is not always the one that feels good. Sometimes we got to take our fucking medicine, socially, politically, religiously, personally. There's all these little motivational quotes at Powerhouse Gym in Las Vegas, which is I'm jonesing to get back to right now. But one of them is, if it doesn't hurt, it won't grow. That's not just for bodybuilding. You want a better society? Sometimes what to grow is gonna fucking hurt. It's not gonna taste good, and you're not gonna feel good about those decisions, but they have to be made sometimes. Everybody wants to worry about safe spaces and DEI hires, and I'm turning into Cappy right now, but the main point of that is in a gynocentric social order that is defined by women's needs. Those are the decisions we make, and that's the policies that we initiate. And so when I'm talking about why are women's needs more important than men's needs, it's because it's priority, because men are subhuman. Men's needs don't matter. What matters? Well, what matters is what feels good. Well, we need to pragmatically, sort of trim the fat here and there, and we got to cut taxes, and we got to do this, and we got to deport so-and-so and whatever it is like that. Because if we don't, then here's what we're going to see further down the lane. I remember watching, was it Tom Bilyeu was recently being interrogated by his wife about why he would vote for Donald Trump. And he gave this very, very rational and very extensive, he really put some thought into this, right? But economically and politically and power wise, it's compared to Kamala Harris, Trump was, give me a better Trump, but if that's all I got, that's what I'm going with, because I can see in the next 4 to 10 years what the long-term effects of that are going to be. Women are just well, he said grab him by the pussy, right? That's all they care about. But from a male-specific way of organizing society, what Tom Bilyeu was saying was absolutely 100% true. It's factual. It's observable. And I'm not saying maybe he was incorrect about some details, but I understand the sentiment behind why he said what he said. But of course, his wife is saying something well, he's a sexist. That's because it didn't feel good. The fact that he voted for a man who said grab him by the pussy, which they're still hanging on to that one from back in 2015, 2016. But that's why, so why is she even interrogating her husband on his own fucking show? Why is she doing that? Because the female narrative is what we're all supposed to agree is the normative. Women's needs come first. What is that? Grab him by the pussy. Well, okay, I guess we better vote for Kamala then, even though it's the most illogical, probably most damning vote you could cast 10 years from now. But it doesn't matter because at least we got Donald Trump out of there, and he grab him by the pussy, right? But that's the only thought. Emotionalism. Emotion comes first for women. Rationality, reason, ideally comes first for men. I'm not saying it can't be conditioned out of men. People always ask me about that too. They'll say, like, Rolla, you talk about instinct, emotion, and reason, which are the three ways that human beings interpret information, like from our sight, sound, whatever, our senses and everything. It's information from our environment comes in through those five senses, right? And then it has to be processed. That information gets processed. It comes through. So it starts in instinct, then it goes through emotion, and then it goes through reason, right? Well, women tend to prioritize emotion before reason, and men tend to prioritize reason before emotion. So, and that's just simply the way we're wired. But in a gynocentric social order, everyone ought to interpret the world through emotion before reason. That's how you get feels before reals. I'm sure you've heard this a million times. Feels before real. Hell, I've even heard like A-list podcasters like say that little snappy little jingoism that we've been talking about forever. I'm pretty sure it might have been Aaron Clary who came up with that, but it's the feels before real society, right? Even Gad Saad, when he was on Joe Rogan, he's like, "Fuck your feelings." That was that conversation. You can't base life-changing decisions on just how those decisions made you feel at the time. Grab them by the pussy, right? You have to think forward. And that's the problem, is like the prioritization of that is what is the reason why a male way of organizing society has been in the past and will be in the future the best way to organize society. I think we're in a state right now where we need to sort of back up and re-empower men to do that. And again, it's men who are going to have to seize the power. I have no illusions that it's just going to be, oh, well, you guys, here you go. Unless a meteor hits or we're going to war or whatever else. The men in Germany right now, they understand exactly what I just said right now. Because if you haven't heard, the German government said that if you are a man between the ages of 17 and like 40, I think somewhere 49, something like that, you have to alert the government that you are coming or going because they need to be able to call you up on a moment's notice because they're anticipating that there's going to be a ground war. There's going to be some shit's going to happen. Shit's going to hit the fan, right? If you're female in Germany, there's no such alert. Same thing in the Ukraine, same thing in Russia, man. There's no such alert. They're talking about, I just saw the article on, I think it goes into effect in 2026. I'm pretty sure it goes into effect, I think it's November. But it's selective services, which used to be something that you had to sign up for. I used to have to sign up for it when I was younger, right? But now you are automatically enrolled in selective services. And if you don't, you're going to go to whatever default branch of the military that they need you in. So I would suggest you probably look into it if you're between 18 and 40 now or something like that. No, 26 is 18, 26. I think that's mandatory conscription ages. But one of these things, I see people get in trouble with this, and Myron Gaines gets in trouble with this as just as well. And Myron knows his shit too, but like Myron, if Myron's watching, I hope he listens to this, because when you talk about selective service as a form of government institutionalized sexism, like definitely keep doing that. But the thing is what happens is people want to say, well, they want to focus on the war part of it. It's like, no. I'm focusing on the citizenship part of that. Because if you are a naturalized citizen, if you immigrate here, and you become a citizen, if you're an 18-year-old male, first off, you got to take the citizen test. You got to learn civics, right? You probably know like U.S. history better than the average high schooler does. But you have to sign up. Well, now you have to sign up for selective services. And if you don't, you cannot be a citizen, a U.S. citizen. Females, no, there's no such requirement. Just walk. Here you go. Walk right in, Conchita. But if you are a male, you have to sign up you have to put your name on the list to, in case of war, we'll call you, kind of thing. And you cannot get your full citizenship unless. So essentially what they're saying is women have the right to citizenship without that requirement whatsoever. And that is government institutionalized sexism. Now, I'm not saying that it shouldn't exist. I'm not saying that I don't understand the reason for it. I absolutely do. But I will say this, that is sexism. Government mandatory sexism. And depending on the state that you live in, sometimes you can't get a driver's license. You are certainly ineligible for government jobs. You cannot run for office. In some states, I think you cannot vote. Certainly in local elections. I don't know about like federal. It just depends on state by state. And then it used to be, I don't know if this still is, but it used to be up to a $250,000 fine if you were of age and they found out that you weren't, or you're avoiding the selective services. That doesn't exist if you are female. So that is always going to be sort of like the Achilles heel for, well, at least women in the United States, right? Mandatory conscription is only for guys. And by the way, if you're like a trans guy who's even biologically male and you think you're female, doesn't matter. If you have a dick swinging between your legs, you're going to selective services, my friend. That's all that matters. That's all Uncle Sam cares about. They don't care what you identify as. If you are biologically male, you're going to boot camp, my friend. You're going to be like in Full Metal Jacket, man. That's going to be you. Private Pile. Yeah. So, but you cannot be a citizen. So I would say that is a pretty much a right that women have that men do not have. You can't have a right to citizenship. I have different thoughts on that, which maybe I should do for another podcast because it's kind of off topic. But I've heard Andrew Wilson talk about it a lot of times. Even Myron. And now I don't know. Myron might have gone into way more detail. He might have gone into the amount of detail that I just did, but you never saw it in the Manosphere movie because that is a very inconvenient truth for people who don't want to hear that we live in a gynocentric social order that normalizes female correct ways of interpreting everything. Society should be organized in a female correct way. If you didn't cry at the end of Titanic, you need therapy. There's something wrong with you. If you're a male and you did not cry at the end of Titanic or The Notebook or whatever the fuck it is, like if you think boys don't cry, you're a product of your toxic masculine conditioning and you need re-education. Why is my natural masculine state the one that is insane instead of sane? Why is my natural state the incorrect? Why am I not a full human, fully realized human if I can't identify with the feminine? Or if I have difficulty identifying with the feminine, or God forbid, I open my mouth and say, you know what, don't think this is the way this is. Guess what? You're mansplaining now. And in Brazil, you go to jail for 5 years for that. You're manterrupting now. That's the extreme side of this. We don't have that in the United States yet. But that seems like logic in a female primary, female correct way of thinking about things. So if a man interrupts a woman in Parliament or whatever, like she's trying to make a point, and the guy goes, nah, let me tell you why you're full of shit. Or let me tell you why. Imagine this. Imagine we're on Access Vegas in Brazil for whatever, and we have all the girls around the table, and they're all speaking Portuguese or whatever, but they all speak English too. Here's a thought experiment once again. They're sitting around, and all of a sudden, the topic of astrology comes up. And you know how Mike is about astrology. He can't keep his mouth shut. Like he's like, no, this astrology is bullshit. Right? And he will be the first one to disagree and interrupt and say, ladies, I'm doing you the favor here. Astrology is nonsense. Numerology is horseshit. Your tarot cards are nonsense, right? Your Brazilian power crystals, you're fully charged or not, right? It's bullshit. You don't. Mike goes to jail. It's do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Mike goes straight to jail. After that, that's the extreme. That's the extreme end of it. And I'm going to tell you right now, I see this happening literally coming up soon. There are going to be books, and there's going to be podcasts, and there's going to be like yours truly, this book right here. Buy it. Buy your books with cash, and buy the print, soon to be in hardback. Because you can't delete that. You'll have it. You'll be able to. Like I have this. That's one guy. I made this funny. I think I did this a long time ago. I was just joking around and saying I would love to see somebody like take like this book and like put it in those little libraries that are around your sort of nice suburban neighborhoods. Where it's like this little library. It's like a little holder of library, and you can put like books you aren't reading. You put it in there. People can take it and go, and take a book, leave a book, kind of thing. And I said, it would be great if somebody would do that with the Rational Mail. So I got all these videos of guys doing this, which I'm hey, great. I'm glad you guys are on board. But yeah, that was great. But yeah, again, it's fix the world with feelings. You don't. You fix the world with rational pragmatism. Like feels are not a way to plan your life, to live your life. And they're not, use your head before your heart. I'm not saying don't use your heart, but use your head before your heart. Like, can we at least agree that that's a way? No, because that would be thinking and prioritizing a male way. I'd be prioritizing male needs before a female needs. Well, the problem is then down the road, you get into a lot of trouble because you did what felt good instead of what was pragmatic and what was objectively good. Best practices. I have time for 2.5 hours of a 4-hour podcast. Okay. Well, what are we at right now? Okay. So you're still here. The longer, the better. Women's needs come first. Men's needs never get met because men's needs are irrelevant in a feminine primary social order. I just answered the question, right? Why are men's needs more important than men's? Because men are subhuman. Until men can be more, and the thing is, men trying to be more feminine, to be a more perfected human, is just an endless cycle of chasing your tail. It's churn marketing. Go to therapy. Okay, I went to therapy. Now what? Well, keep going to therapy. You're not healed yet. Well, I think I am. No, you're not. When are you really healed? I hate that fucking. Anytime somebody says that on the show, like on Access Vegas, I'm like, when are you healed? Like when do you like get the goal? When do you get the certificate healed? Like the healed diploma? And you go, okay, I guess I can get on with life now. When do you get? You don't. It's a never ending. It's churn marketing is what it is. The ultimate expression of female collectivism is the Borg. Resistance is futile. I'm glad you said it, not me. Well, my creative director job didn't work out. Damn, dude, really? So I'm going to build my own creative agency. Much better. You'll be much better off being master of your own fate. There you go. The Dear John letter. Roll here about Dear John letter. You mean like in World War II? Yeah. Oh, it's funny you should mention that. I have. Okay, you want some boring ass shit? Here's some boring ass shit. At least I don't think anybody would respond to this, but about 4 years ago, I had a guy just out of the blue said, hey, I have these letters from, and I don't know if it was a relative of his or not, but they were from a guy who was in the U.S. military when he was in World War II. And it was a collection of all the letters he sent to, I think, the woman who became his wife or didn't. I don't know. But it was like all of his letters and correspondence that went from him when he was overseas and he was fighting the Japs, whatever it was. And like looking at I've read through probably about half of them. I haven't even gone through all of them. I have a lot of them. I have a box of these things, and they're literally written on stationery. That was U.S. military stationery, like has a stamp on it. So because the military had to read everything that you send back home, right? And they are legit military grade 1940s era letters that were sent from a corpsman, I think. I don't know who it is, but to his girl. And I'm reading these things and I'm going, there are so many parallels to what this guy is like. He's very much blue pill simp, like the whole thing, like a lot of it. Right now, funny thing is like gradually through the letters, he sounds less simpy. Like the more real shit he sees, the more of a man he becomes. And it sort of changes the narrative of the context of the letters. I was thinking about doing like maybe 1 or 2 podcasts where I'm just going to read like through some of these, or maybe even write an essay about it. But it interests me like crazy. I think it's fucking awesome. Just doing like, compare and contrast kind of thing. And it's like, I think it's a unique opportunity to sort of like see how people in the greatest generation sort of dealt with like interpersonal, intersexual dynamics, right? Do you think anybody in Gen Z is going to give 2 flying fucks about that? If I can't fit that into a 45-second TikTok dance video, no one's going to care. It's only going to be important to me. I might still do it, but I still have them. I might do those things. I wanted to point out, so what sort of brought this all on? I have this one video. I think I played this before, but I'm going to do it one more time. I believe it's on my desktop. Is it on my desktop? Okay, so this is a pastoress. This is a woman pastor, which only works in girl world, by the way. And she's going to tell us all what men need versus want in a marriage. All right. Now, a lot of this is going to sound like, if you've been following me on Twitter, you already know who this is. But a lot of this is going to sound very feministy, very therapy speakish. And I want you to pay attention to a few of the adjectives that she uses.
Men don't want sex, ladies. They just don't. They don't want sex. They need sex. Some of the men were like, girl, what you talking about? I want it. No, you don't want it. You need it. It's an absolute necessity for men. The problem is he doesn't want to have to beg for it. He doesn't want to always feel responsible to initiate sex and intimacy. And
so we're going to stop right there really quickly, because now a woman is going to lecture me on what I want, what I like. This, first of all, it's ludicrous. But the reason why she's comfortable in doing this is because we live in a female correct society. Anything that comes out of her mouth is gospel. In this case, gospel, right? Anything that she lays out, you're picking up what I'm laying down. Like anything she rattles off here, the presumption is that she's already right. Now you can add to the elements of God and the religion side of it, but like a lot of this is just basically therapy speak. But we've already established that the female way of interpreting men's like libido or their sex drive or why they need sex or whatever can be explained by women, and men have to just sort of sit there and nod along.
here's how a man deals with rejection. The first time you reject him, it's like, okay, no problem. The second time you reject him, he stops trying. The third time you reject him, he's no longer interested, and he literally disconnects.
Okay, so not terribly inaccurate. Of course, the reason why is because you're a dead end. And especially if you're a Christian guy who like waited till marriage to get in the sack, right? The deal that you thought was going to be already ready to go is not on the table anymore, or there's stipulations to it. You did everything right. You waited. You got a good job. You became elite, right? You have a good job. You're good with the kids. You pay attention to her. I'm just looking at this from an ideal perspective, right? You did everything the way that you ought to do it, and still, mama ain't happy. Mama's not into it, right?
He turns distant. He turns cold. He'll climb into bed. He'll watch a little bit of TV at night, turn his back to you and go to sleep. And he's angry about it. He's frustrated about it. He's disappointed that he has to fight for something that God told him he was owed and due. Because
so there you go. Owed and due. If you ask most women, like, are men owed sex? Well, if not after a date, for sure. Right? We've established that in spades. All right. We know that ain't the way it should be, right? No, in fact, that was one of the things that was on the misogyny list, right? What was it? Let's see if I can find. I'll dig it up later. The U.gov list of the things that make you a misogynist, like expecting or believing that women owe men sex after a date. Like it's for performance, right? You performed up to a certain standard, and so therefore you merited attention, you merited love, like men have to keep doing more and more and more and more and more. Like you have to live up to a certain standard, otherwise the legs snap shut. And again, this is a really kind of like guys who don't get like guys who don't fuck. This transactional sex. Seems like normal. It seems like it is, right? And then when the deal is not on the table, whether it's in Corinthians 7:3, whatever, is like, do you think the guys like they're frustrated, they're angry and everything? Do you think they're going, damn, she's not following in Corinthians 7:3? No, because it's biology at that point. It's animal. It's visceral at that point. Because men need sex. Men want and need sex. And so now we have to find some female correct way to explain why that is. And I'm gonna make a lot of enemies with this, but it's my belief, anyways, to a certain degree, that one of the reasons why religion in general, and it doesn't have to be Christianity, it could be Islam, whatever, is that there is a certain guarantee of sexual access for performance, for doing certain things. If I do this, if I convert to Christianity, if I, go to Mecca, whatever it is, if I go on the Hajj, if I do whatever it is that I'm supposed to do, it's A plus B equals sex, right? And I've mentioned this in my first book. Men are problem solvers. We are deductive problem solvers above all else. Some of us are more creative than others, don't get me wrong, but we want to think that A plus B equals C. So men approach sex deductively. So I need sex. She's a woman. She looks like she'd be fun to have sex with. I ask women, what do you want from a man so that I can get sex? She says A, B, C, D, all of these prerequisites. Okay. I go and I do all these things that women by and large, like from a consensus, have said that this is what they want. How to get into my pants. I do that. I'm dominant. I'm confident. I'm a Christian. I have a good job. I stay in shape. I do all of these things. And she still fucks Jake from my band. She still bangs the drummer, right? She still gets with the guy and you don't understand why. Like she's made all these rules and you don't understand why that it's not forthcoming. And what happens is when you get into a lifelong arrangement, when you get into a contract that is for life, where that one woman is supposed to be your only, it's either hell or you have sex with this one woman, right? Because you need sex. And that woman says, no, I can't do that. Now what she's doing is basically condemning you to hell. Because you're going to have to eventually say, you know what, fuck this, I'm out, right? You're going to cheat. You're going to stroke off the porn. Ladies, if you're watching this and you think you can have a sexless marriage indefinitely, he's going to find a way to meet that need. He's going to find a way. Usually it's pornography. That's what really upsets women. I just did it today. I put out another tweet. I said, you know what? Pornography has sustained more marriages than it has ever destroyed. Women hate it. Hate that. And self-righteous guys hate that too, right? They hate, but they can't argue with it. Because really what it is, it's like if you're in that situation and you're not getting laid, what are your recourse? Your recourse is to cheat. Well, let's say divorce, cheat, or porn. And of course, everybody wants to say porn is cheating anyway. So you committed adultery by proxy, by de facto adultery. Right? So you're fucked. You just sinned. So when a guy gets put into that situation, it becomes, if you really want to go there, it becomes an existential crisis rather than anything else. But I wouldn't personally go there because I think maybe I'm more intelligent for my own good. But for guys whose conviction it is, like, I don't know if you guys saw Ryan Panetta. I talked about this last week when Ryan Panetta and this guy Brian Davis, I think, the bald guy that was on Ryan Panetta's show with Mike Sartain. These guys are the classic blue pill Christian guys. I did everything the right way. Steven Crowder did everything the right way. Wrote this self-evincing article about how he waited for sex with Hillary, his wife, and they did everything right, and they met at church camp, and this is possible, and you can do it too. If I ever get invited on Steven Crowder, That will be the first thing out of my mouth. Do you still back that up, Steve? Did it really work out the way you thought it was going to work out? I bet he'll say no, and they'll be, because he's matured. He's come up to a really. I think Steven Crowder is probably a bit more red pill than he wants to like let on his show, but he's got like producers who are like really dyed in the wool, turn or burn Christians, and the same thing with Brian that was on Ryan Panetta's show. Same thing, and those are the guys that will fight me and fight Mike on this. But they're not like Mike said this. I thought it was brilliant. I don't know where this came from. But Mike was like, you're not arguing against me. You're arguing against the stats. He's like, I have nothing but respect for you, man. But you're not arguing me. You're arguing with the stats. I just work here, man. That's his version of I just work here. I thought it was absolute genius when he was talking about that. What else did he say? He's had this other quote that was pretty funny. He's on Cold Approach Debate on a Day Game. I forget whose podcast this was. He was debating some guy about the merits of social circle game versus day game. And I think one of the things he said was, he's like, I teach guys to ride. He says, you teach guys to ride a horse and buggy, and I teach guys to ride a bullet train. I'm like, where's that wittiness when we're on the show, man? Fuck. Anyways, here we go. Let's keep going.
Sex for men isn't just physical. It's how he experiences connection. It's how he experiences acceptance. It's how he experiences affirmation and closeness.
Okay, stop right there. You're not a man. You don't know that. In fact, the only thing you have to go on to come up with that assessment is probably other female therapists, female psychologists, female, ministry, whatever, who've said the same thing so many times that it sounds truthy. What does she say? Oh, men, it's the way that they feel. Sex is the way they feel closeness. It's the way they feel acceptance, intimacy, affirmation, whatever else. She didn't say this, but one of the things that gets thrown into that mix is also validation. All of that is horseshit. Throw all of that out the window. We're gonna look at this from a very pragmatic way, because what she's essentially saying from a female correct perspective, like, remember, you're a subhuman, so she's going to tell you, she can lecture you about what it's like to be a guy and what like a lack of sex feels like to a guy, and the reason why it's like soul crushing and psychologically damaging, like when a guy gets rejected. She knows because she's experienced it firsthand. Like, no, men need sex because we want to fuck. That's it. Simple as that. Oh, well, there has to be some sort of emotional, ephemeral reason. Closeness. Like, listen to all the stuff she's saying. Closeness, affirmation, acceptance, blah, blah, blah. Validation. All of those are rooted in emotion. All of that is like, I mean, you could make a case that once the guy busts a nut, that he's flooded with oxytocin and now he's more able to feel those things for sure. But that's not what motivated him before they started fucking. Okay. You got to remember that all of the things like that come after, that are post-orgasm, right? You got a closeness, intimacy, a feeling, connection, whatever, these are very subjective, very ambiguous. They're container words, as Ryan Stone would say. You can fit any meaning you want to into these things. Like, what the fuck is connection? Can I feel connected? And I feel pretty connected to Ned. Is Ned in here? Yeah, we're gonna have the Ned cam here sooner or later. I'm pretty connected to my dogs, but I don't fuck trust me, I don't get after it with my dog. Like, there's what's funny is there always has to be something female specific added to the male sex equation. Closeness. And I'm sure women feel exactly that after the fact, post orgasm. Well, I feel closeness, intimacy, connection, affirmation, acceptance, all that stuff after I have validation, after I get off. Men must feel it too. No, we don't. And maybe we do. Some of us might afterwards, but that's not why. That's not what I'm not feeling close enough. Can we fuck? Like, imagine, ladies, if you're watching this, if you're a married trad wife right now, imagine your man coming up to you going, honey, it's time to knock one out. Why? Well, I want to feel close to you. What? I'm feeling unaccepted and unappreciated, and I'm feeling unconnected, disconnected from you. Like, so it's time to fuck. Or like the other way I describe this is so guys will fight me on this. Well, I need sex for those things. Guys will align with what she's saying, right? They'll say that because they're guys who don't fuck, and they think that by aligning with women, they're identifying with women more, and that Jungian, Freudian, need to identify with the feminine is something that they think is a form of game. But really, what they'll do is they'll align themselves with that. And I go, well, let me ask you one question. I said, when you rub one out to Pornhub, to whatever kind of porn you love this week, whatever kind of porn you're into, and you rub one out, are you thinking, I really feel disconnected. I think I'm going to go watch, hot wife porn and or toss off to lesbian porn. That's the reason why you're doing that. That's the reason why you're satisfying your need. Your need is closeness. Your need is validation. Your need is acceptance. And so therefore, no, you're not. Okay. And this is the thing. And Monica is the only one that comes close to a real rational understanding of this, because Monica is on HRT, right? Hormone replacement therapy, TRT, right? You will never know. Women is a physical impossibility for women to know what sex is like for men, unless they're on gear, unless they're on Masteron, Trend, whatever, unless women can experience 17 times the amount of serum testosterone flowing through their bloodstream, which would probably kill them. But unless they can feel that, you will, like ladies, you will never understand the male libido. You will never understand the need men have for sex. And I'm talking about I'm not even talking about like enhanced guys who are like, on gear. I'm just talking about the average, guy. Most men produce 12 to 17. This is, Mike always gets this wrong, so I'm just going to try to vary this, but numbers differ. But depending on the woman, depending on the individual, depending on the age, depending on the race too. A normal, healthy human adult male produces anywhere between 12 and 17 times the amount of serum testosterone that women do. Fact. Look it up. Perplexity will probably tell you. Fact. And what does that do to a woman who is like at best, 100 T? Even that would be high, right? And you're at 1200 T, or you're at 800 T. Even if she's like at 8 and she's at like 80 and you're at 800. Now we're looking at a factor of 10, right? The first thing I've talked to girls actually who've been on our show, who are female bodybuilders. Heck, some of them are even porn. I'm not going to name names, but like certain girls will get on Anavar. If you know what Anavar is, you know what I'm talking about. And their libido goes up, and I can't believe you guys are like this. And that's just Anavar. Now imagine you're on HGH, or you're on like testosterone propionate, right? You're on actual testosterone. Imagine a woman injecting, let's say weekly, 300 milligrams of T every week, which is like a pretty good male dose right there, right? That woman is going to, her voice is going to drop. She's going to start growing facial hair. But the one thing she's going to notice first is she's like, I cannot believe how horny you guys are, how horny this makes me. They express disbelief because, and that disbelief that experiencing, and remember, this isn't like the full experience. Like, you have to understand, I don't think women can appreciate men's self-control over our own sexual expression, of our own sexuality, until they can experience that. I think women should experience like for one day, like the male level, like the male testosterone levels for one day. So I think women have a new appreciation for like what they're dealing with. And so it's not closeness. It's not affirmation. It's not acceptance. It's not, connection. It's not like Phil. Give me another, term. Right. Those are why that's post nut clarity is what that is. That's not pre nut. I got to get off. That's what you're dealing with, not anything that comes after that. Oh, I want to feel connected. No, you don't. Guys don't think that way. The other thing I hate too is like when women, this is women. Well, by the way, this is what this woman is doing, what I call projecting the female dynamic onto men. They feel this way. Remember, because the gynocentric social order is the predominant social order right now. And because the blank slate is still a thing to them, apparently, it's, men, if women feel this way, men must feel this way too. No, we don't. We don't have the same hardware. And I'm sorry if that like crushes your whole, hallmark world. But men want to fuck. They want to fuck you. Like, it's like, I love it when people like will say like, and some women get this. I think the younger the woman is, she kind of gets it. Maybe the older ones too, but like the younger a woman is, they tend to get this. They tend to understand that guys need to get off. Guys want to have sex. And I keep saying, like, if you aren't like sexual, your libido is low, ladies. Like, don't get married. Like, don't do that to a guy. I know you probably say, oh, I still want to, but I want to be married. I want to have babies. If you're not into fucking, like, don't do guys who are into fucking a disservice by ruining their lives, by pretending that you are into it. And I have, let me just let her finish out because this is too good not to continue. Hang on.
What you think is merely a biological reaction is actually how your husband connects with you.
No, it is actually a biological reaction. Your first impression, your first hunch is correct, ladies.
Men become emotional once they physically connect. Women need to feel
No, they become emotional after they bust a nut.
Emotionally connected first, then they want to be physical. Houston, we have a problem. Doesn't that sound quite problematic? We ain't on the same page. Different designs, different makeups, different DNA.
Okay. So she's diagnosed the problem, but the solution, the cure, the prescription is very much incorrect. And I think what happens is like, and this, I'm going to talk about guys for a moment here because I'm not letting guys off the hook on this. People say, oh, you only talk about girls. And I'm going to let guys off the hook on this too, because guys buy into this. Guys will hear that sermon or whatever, or there's something like it. That's therapy speak is what that is. So you can get that either in church or you can get it at, whatever progressive lefty low. You can get it at Burning Man. You can get it like wherever you are. Like you're going to hear the same kind of shit, right? It just comes in a different package, right? You got to align your chakras. No, I need to align my dick with your pussy. Is what I need to do. Like that's basic. Those are the basics, right? That's the nuts and bolts right there. So whether it's with Brazilian power crystals or it's the Bible, it's the same freaking message. But there has to, like in a female correct social order, that's the way that it has to be. There always has to be some emotional reason for it. Feels before reels. The reels is the guy wants to fuck. Like I keep saying, like no, I'm still waiting for an answer on this. Like we want to talk about like how guys have porn addictions and how how available and ubiquitous 4K online streaming pornography, Pornhub this, and I love Pornhub from the perspective that they have very accurate stats on their yearly assessment, and there's no porn on this, by the way. It's just on the blog, and they tell you what the most viewed, the most searched, the trending categories, the niches of porn every year. And it's something you got to remember. They've only been doing that for 10 years, maybe. I don't know how long has Pornhub been around, but they've only been doing it for a very, very short amount of time, like historically speaking. But at no time in the history of the world have we, just the average person, had access to at least a somewhat accurate understanding of male and female sexual appetites, courtesy of porn. Porn did a good job with that. At least they kept stats. At least they're not keeping. At least they're open about it. At least it's like open source. At least they're telling you this shit, right? Which is fascinating to me because it again goes back. Who mainly uses porn? Well, men, but women do too. Not at the same level. I think it's like something like a third of the level, or maybe it might be coming up on half now of the amount that women search out porn. Women get off on porn too. Women tend to, and I will show you 3 different studies that prove this. Women search violent porn by an order of magnitude more than men. Why is that? Women hate it when I bring that up. Absolutely hate that because it sort of locks in with that. Oh, women have rape fantasies. Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say that, but women want a safe roller coaster. And that was actually women want safe danger. And that was the roller coaster post that I actually kind of lifted from Dalrock a little bit. I rephrased it, but which is essentially that, women want danger. They want dangerous men. They want dangerous situations. They want the violent sex, right? They want the fantasy of it. I'm not saying that they would necessarily get into it, maybe to a degree for sure, but they tend to search it out far more than men do. In fact, men are tame by by that standard. Men are like tame. God forbid you don't want to be men would much rather I'm sure they would like to do certain things, and they have their certain niches, and they have their certain fetishes, I guess, or whatever kink is. I had that conversation with Coral Osborne. Like, what's a kink? Like, anything could be like trad wives. That's a kink. You could turn that into a kink technically. Here's my kink. I want to have sex with my wife, and I want her to wear lingerie. That's pretty vanilla, I think, isn't it? But when I want her to stay in shape and not get fat. Or choke me. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's another thing. That was Deborah So was interviewed. I think it was Chris Williamson who was interviewing her. But she said this before in another podcast. And she's very, very concerned that Gen Z women have been watching so much porn that they have developed a kink or developed a fetish for wanting to be choked during sex, like asphyxiation, right? Because it is by and large women who want that more than guys do. Like, guys have to sort of like, okay, I don't want like domestic violence. Yeah, I don't like it goes back to that that meme. Do I have it on here still? I don't know if I still have the meme. I don't have it. It's the one where like the truck window, like the side view window is like right here, and the wall's right here. And one of them says how rough she likes it, and then on the wall side it says domestic violence, and it's like inches, like not even like millimeters away from each other. And the reason it's funny is because you're threading the needle there, my friend. But it's oh my gosh, Jada Bila has just texted me. Ladies and gentlemen, let's stop the show. She said, okay, this is good. Let's stop. I don't know if she's watching. Maybe she's watching or not. She says, why did these guys do this Manosphere documentary? Why would they agree to be in that? Such an obvious setup. Well, Jedediah, if you're watching, I've already talked about this. I don't know if she is or not. I'll just answer it real quickly here. I'll text her back. She doesn't realize I'm on my show right now. Is she here? Is she in the chat? If she's in the chat, it would be great if she's in the chat, because then it'll save me the time of texting this. They did. They knew exactly what they were getting into. That was my first spanking I gave everybody, especially Myron knew better. Jay Waller probably knew better. HS Tiki Taki didn't care. Sneeko didn't care. They're not part of the Manosphere. They could go and shit all over the Manosphere all they want to. They're clowns. They're cartoon characters, and they were happy to be the cartoon characters that Louis Theroux had already cast them as. Like, remember, Louis Theroux desperately wanted. Like, I was watching this. There was an interview of Louis Theroux 3 years ago when he was talking about Andrew Tate. I was just going over it. I might even actually do a video on it. This is him 3 years ago. He wanted a piece of Tate 3 years ago. He couldn't get it. Couldn't make it happen. So his his next alternate, his understudy was H.S. Tiki Taki, who, by the way, sounds like a cartoon character. Sneeko sounds like a Saturday morning cartoon character. Speedy Gonzalez. It sounds like a cartoon character. That's what he wanted, and they were happy to play that. Now, yes, Myron should have known better, but Myron went in probably. I mean, why would anybody do anything like this, knowing that the setup is already there, knowing that the ambush is already there? One of the reasons, like Mike and I were real hesitant to do I didn't do it at all, but like the CBS interview that we did, we had CBS come in and film Access Vegas. And they were there for the whole show. They were there for 3 hours, taking shots of the girls, me, everything else. They used one, not even a 3-second, B-roll clip from that. You know why? Because there was nothing there for them. There was nothing there that they could work with that would fit into their narrative. With that, the whole show, we were me and Mike were like, should we do this? Should we not do this? They used 3 seconds of it in the beginning of when they were showing Michael Sartain. And even Mike's interview, which was a 45-minute interview, they used maybe 3 minutes of that. And then they have shots of him, talking with the guys in MOA and everything else like that. But there's nothing there for them. People don't even remember that we did a CBS documentary. They don't even know that. People don't know also that we did the Lonely Fans interview for the Lonely Fans documentary. People don't know that. You know what they do know? HS Tiki Taki. They know Sneeko. They know Myron. But they know Myron was holding on to a poodle and his girlfriend left him. That's the message that they got. And I know that Myron probably thought that, here's my rationale. Myron probably thought that he was going to, put the hidden GoPro somewhere, and which he did. And he did a show, and he proved himself that, these are the shit that they don't show you. Great. But I will say that the people who watched the repudiation, the behind the scenes show that Myron did, is far, by an order of magnitude greater, was the Netflix documentary. The damage is already done. That's why I'm saying, if I would tell people right now, if I knew ahead of time what either come correct, know that they're going to do this to you, know that this is going to be the set, and don't give them anything to work with. Don't go and just feel like you can let your guard down, especially with a guy like Louis Theroux, and don't think that the GoPro is going to save you, because by the time the documentary gets out and you want to do a rebuttal to it, damage is done. There's nothing you can do about it. But why did they do such an obvious setup? Well, if you're talking about it, we're still talking about it right now. That came out on March 11th. Today is April 12th. We're still talking about it. And I'm trying to let it die. So I'm trying to not talk about it too much. But, I get reminded every now and then by somebody who wants to go on the BBC and tell me what the fucking manosphere is about. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. And it's just a reminder. Anytime I should say this, I'll leave it at this. Anytime you see somebody who wants to pop off and wants to poke the bear, anytime anybody wants to shit on the manosphere, I will 100% guarantee you they don't know what they're talking about. And those same people do not want to have any kind of back and forth conversation about it. They lack conviction. The same clout chasing that inspired these guys to go and do those interviews and be on that is the same clout jacking that everybody who followed in the wake of that is participating in right now. When people say, well, HS Tiki Taki, these guys, they have their own secret societies, and they have these young men who are paying for that, and the war room this, and the real life that, and this Discord costs you this. I have Reignite, Mike has MOA, all Rich Cooper has his own thing, everybody's got their own thing, and boy, what a hustle this is. It's all a grift, blah blah blah. Meanwhile, they're accepting Elon bucks for that post. Meanwhile, they're doing a 30-minute, breakdown of what they thought the thing was about. And what are they turning down ad revenue? Because I see ads in those all the time. Same thing. It's all a grift. Everything's a grift. Hotep Jesus was right. Everything is a grift. The difference is, what do you give back? And I think I give back a lot. I think I give back a lot of information. I give back a lot of education. I help people learn to apply this stuff to their lives to make their lives better. I'm 100% certain of that. Assured of that. I've been doing this for 24 years. I give back. People think I am way more paid than I am. I love it when people go, well, these manosphere guys, you make money doing this and this. I'm like, my first experience. Now my response is, how much do you think I get paid? How much? Would you like to see my W-9s? Like, would you like to see like what my tax returns look like for this year? Because I got them coming back. I'll be happy to be transparent about that. No problem. Yeah. So I think they already knew about it, but Jada Abila, love my girl. Wait, hold on.
That's nasty. It is nasty, right? Isn't it nasty? Oh.
She says she's a mob wife of the manosphere. She's I call her the Joan Rivers of the manosphere. Yes, I love me. I got to go on Jedediah. I got to have her back on the show again. Sir, Mr. Jason, the more you explain this, the more I hear puppy get a biscuit and I get a treat if I'm a good boy. Well, that's what it ends up turning into. Thank you for getting us back on topic. When it's weaponized, yes. I'm sure you guys have seen the memes. They've been around for forever. These guys who have these little charts and they get a gold star, right? I remember the first time I saw this, I was on Pat Campbell's show. And he sent me the meme and we were talking about it. And I think we did it on the podcast once or twice. And we were talking about what I call cookie time for good boy. Because that's what the mom would always say is like, oh, it's cookie time for good boy. Meaning like you get some pussy, because you mowed the lawn and you did this and here's this chores. And it's basically this chore list of things like, oh, you get to have a blowjob on the Super Bowl. Like all these, it's just like, but I think I will tell you this, the women who like weaponize sex understand the male sex response better than Preacher Girl does. Better. Because that woman wants to make it about this ephemeral connection and, intimacy, this and all this ambiguous, sort of, it sounds good. Like, I think that's a problem. That's a problem that I think is the biggest part of that whole thing is it sounds truthy. It sounds right. Yeah, connection. That's why guys pile on. And you got to remember that most guys don't fuck, right? Well, remember we talked about the 80-20, 4.5% rule? 80%, the 80 percentile, the 80th percentile. Those guys, the guys who are in the unattractive cohort, when women say that they find 80% of men unattractive. Hell, I got a video. Hold on. This is too good. And it's not the one you think it is. Hold on. This was really good. Since we're on this topic right now, before I jump in and with both feet, this was too good for me not to pull. I was going to put this in the introduction, but
mostly just want to fuck, and a lot of them are ugly.
What do you mean a lot of them are ugly? What percent of them are ugly? Yeah.
Probably like 90% of guys are ugly.
You're not attracted to 90% of men.
Yeah.
You find 90% of men unattractive.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question.
Right then, like Branches said, do you find me attractive?
Question. What percentage of men do you find gross?
Gross?
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between unattractive and gross? Like, I mean, was that like repulsive, like revolting as opposed to?
Maybe like 50%?
50?
Maybe more than that.
Of the age range that you prefer, what percentage of men do you find unattractive? So you said
90.
40, 50?
Gosh, I don't know, like 50%.
I'd also say probably 90.
90%?
Mm-hmm. Maybe 95, honestly. Maybe more.
Probably like 70.
Please.
At least 90.
Do you guys think that you're top 10% women?
Looks wise?
Yeah, just looks.
Maybe like 20%.
You're top 20? Okay.
I would say yes.
Yes, top 20?
Top 10.
Top 10. Okay.
Yes.
Top 10. Definitely not top 10. Definitely not top 10. I'm going to go on a limb here and say they're not wrong. Not wrong about themselves anyways, because 75% of the U.S. population is overweight. And 40% of that is 40% of the overweight are women. 40% of women are morbidly obese. So for that woman to say, I'm in the top, no, she said 20. Let's just say 20. If she said 25, I would 100% agree. Yep, because you're thin, because you're of a normal body weight. You're already in. Now the other girl says, I'm in the top 10. Well, subjective. I don't know. I got to see what you look like on Instagram. But I thought that the reason I saved that, I was going to use that in an intro. I'm glad I brought that up later on. The reason I brought that up is, now they said 90%. Statistically speaking, they're not wrong. Like some of them said 50, some have said 40, some have said 90. So like, let's take a mean average of that. You're looking at like 80%, right? Which jives perfectly with the studies that David Buss has done and others. Now everybody drink. About women finding 80% of men unattractive, or below average in attractiveness, depending on which study we're looking at, right? Those are the unattractive guys. Now, so if you got 80% of those guys that are struggling to even be, they're invisible, essentially is what they are. Women don't even see those guys. The 20% of guys, if you're taking 100% of guys, right? You got 80% of them are unattractive. Put them over here. 20% of guys might do. And then there's the 4.5% that women will actively like message and want to get with because they're that attractive. The problem is most women, the average women, believe they're entitled to the 4.5% guy, to Justin Waller, to Alan Richardson, Jason Momoa, whoever your hottie is, right? Whoever your hall pass is, they're entitled to that. Nothing else will do. We're just not settling for that. Unless that guy in the 20% has some sort of like value added and she comes down to reality right around 33 years old. The shit's not going to change. But so getting back to what I was saying before, when it comes to like men's sexual needs, you got to remember that even guys in the 80th percentile, in the 20th percentile, they can still get laid. They can still, but they're not guys who have a lot of sexual opportunity. They're not guys. They're guys who don't fuck. Right? And if you've lived your life for the better part of your life as a man, if you live your life for the better part of a man with very limited sexual opportunity, whether that's by, your convictions religiously, or you're just fat, or that you just don't get it, or you just, socially retarded. And I mean that in the clinical sense. You're a guy who doesn't fuck. Well, those guys have to come up with reasons why they don't fuck. And you can go out on, I can extend this, we can logically extend this as a form of intrasexual competition between men. So if a man who doesn't fuck can convince a guy who does fuck that fucking is wrong, then he's put himself, he's basically limited that guy. He's basically disqualified that. He's convinced that guy to disqualify himself is essentially what he's done. So become my religion. Well, my religion, it's no premarital sex, and you can't like be banging, no promiscuity, whatever. You can't fuck. You can't fuck unless you jump through this hoop and this hoop and this hoop and this hoop. And they'd be like guys who could, if they subscribe to that, then they have been effectively cucked by lesser men through psychology, psyops, through belief sets, whatever. I'm just throwing this out there as a mechanic. I'm not saying it always works this way. I'm not writing a book about this, but what I see anyways is from social dynamics, ideology, religion, et cetera, you can even just say blue pill beliefs in the first place. Those tend to be weaponized reasons or weaponized mechanics, tools for intrasexual competition. So when you hear a guy who's in the 80th percentile, or maybe he's in the 20 percentile, but he's just bought into everything. When that guy's there, he's got to come up with reasons why he's in a sexist marriage. And if a woman comes up on the pulpit and he still believes that even women should be like at the pulpit in the first place, which they shouldn't. And he hears from women's ministry leaders that, men need to fuck. And you're like, yeah, you need to hear this, honey. And she says, well, because men need connection and they need communication and they need, and they need affirmation and all this other shit. What she's doing is she's force fitting what she needs sex for, what women want sex for eventually, onto that guy's frame, onto that guy's framework. It's like you probably heard this before. Like guys will say like, women always want X, Y, and Z, or they want a guy who is really good looking. And they want a guy who's got, you know, 6-pack abs and a 6'6". He has 6-pack abs and he's got a long dick and he's got, you know, huge muscles and everything. And they will say, like, guys who are critics of that will say this. They'll say, stop projecting what you want. You like men want, like men are way more physical. We want a girl who looks hot and who's available and who's fun in bed and enthusiastic and everything else. But what they're doing is they'll say this, they're projecting men's understanding of themselves onto women, right? So if I'm a man, if I want a woman who's like, you know, at I don't know, 12% body fat, and she's in shape, she's athletic, she's got big boobs, and she's got, you know, she looks good physically. She has, like, I have me personally, a pretty high standard for physicality, then that must mean that women do too, right? But by and large, they do. But the thing is the first response a guy who doesn't fuck says, or women will say, is that the really reason you think that is because you're projecting your sexual expression, or what you like, or what you think women want, what you want onto women. And women want something different. They want emotionality. They want responsive desire, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But like, this is they want something more. It's got to be status. This is the thing that gets me, is like, I've done this show already before when I was talking about the Applebee's waitress, like how guys don't care about a woman's like career. They don't care. I mean, unless she's doing OnlyFans. They don't care about whether she's a barista or she's working at, you know, Applebee's waitress, or as long as she's hot, she's available, she's fertile, she looks good, she's fun in bed. She could be the CEO of Fortune 500 company, or she could be the Applebee's waitress. This is where I differ with these guys, because they'll say, well, they don't want a girl who's a Fortune 500 because then she's a boss babe. If she looks good, again, all she has to do is pass the boner test. But but what they're doing essentially is projecting what they think men want onto women. Well, that happens the other way as well. But in a gynocentric social order, that's fucking fine. That's A-okay, because that's the correct way of doing it. Because if men can be more and identify more with the feminine, then they're more perfected human beings. You stop being subhuman now. Now you're almost human, because you're a good listener, and you'll sit here and listen to my bullshit, right? Like, remember the gosh, I have it. I could play it, but maybe I won't. It's not about the nail. That little comedy skit, it's all of like a minute and a half long. It's a guy sitting at the couch, and his girlfriend's there, and she's talking about this horrible headache that she has. It's just this throbbing like pain. It's chronic. I don't know what to do about it. Yada yada yada. And she's just like yammering and venting this whole time. And she turns, and she's got this big old like carpenter's nail in her forehead, right? And the guy looks at it and he goes, I bet if we took that nail out of your head, you'd feel much better. You wouldn't have this problem anymore. And she's just like, it's not about the nail, And every time he tries to, I'm a good listener. And then, so finally he kind of like, then he does what most men do, right? He's just like, and he knows that if he pulls the nail from her head, it'll cure her. The bitching and complaining will stop, at least about the nail. It'll stop, right? But the guy ends up getting to the point where he's like, it's futile to do anything but sit here and listen to this. That's what women want in a good listener. They don't want a therapist. They don't want a guy who's going to solve problems for them. They want a guy who, I want you to be. And so what happens is you end up turning into her girlfriend, because that's what her girlfriends do. Her girlfriends already know that the nail's going to be there no matter what, and it's just going to stay there stuck. And their girlfriends don't go, hey, maybe if I pull that nail out of your head, then you'll be better off for it. They don't. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in female communication. That only happens in male to female communication. Men are problem solvers, deductive problem solving. Pull the nail from the head, pain is gone, bitching stops. Can we go back to fucking? No. But what happens is guys realize at some point along the way, they just give up. Like, okay. And sometimes the nail in the head is your sexless marriage. And sometimes the nail in the head is something you did that you don't even know about. The nail in the head is representative of a lot of different things, but the response is always the fucking same. That's it. And what happens is when you get defeated like that, that's when you're in limbo. That's when shit doesn't change. That's when guys like stagnate. That's why, honestly, that's when guys get into trouble, because most guys aren't made of the same stuff where they just go, okay, now can we go? They just like a guy who fucks is going to do that. Or he's not going to do that. A guy who fucks is just going to get up and leave the couch. So at some point, a man has to either pull the nail from the woman's head, or he has to pick up and get off the fucking couch and say, you know what, fuck, this is like, I'm wasting my time on this couch. That's what happens. So when you're in a sexist marriage and I want you to be a good listener. The reason why you're sitting there going, sounds okay, yeah, sounds like it's painful. Yeah, I'll have that nail in your head. When you're doing that and you're vacillating on that, and she gets off on that, right? Because you're speaking her language. You're buying into, or you're participating in that, neurosis, instead of just solving the problem and going. And what's funny is like, whenever I show that video, it's funny, right? Don't get me wrong. It's meant to be a comedy skit, but it's really a really deep psychological, like, learning tool, I think, anyways. And when women watch it, they laugh. Yeah, women are like that. And men look at that and they go, my God, you're right. Like, it's like this revelation for them. Like, you're exactly right. I've never seen it illustrated this way. This explains everything. They just, the communication, the emotion, and everything. Now, with that dynamic in mind, and we go back to the pastor girl talking about how men need sex to communicate, and they have acceptance and validation and all this other crap that goes along with it. That's the nail in the fucking head. And all you're going to do is just go, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, pull the nail from your head and go, no, men like to fuck. Thank you. Bye. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rub your noses in it. I'm going to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. That's really what it boils down to. You want progress. You want to move on. You're going to, at some point, you have to pull the nail out of the head, or you got to get up off the couch and leave. Do something different. That's what it comes down to. So when you're sitting there vacillating on that thing, you're buying into the reason why you do that is because you think, like guys who don't fuck, the 80%ers, you think that by sitting there, it's going to be an effective way of identifying with the feminine. You know what identifying with the feminine is? It's sitting there going, yeah, I'm sure that nail hurts really bad in your head. No, solve the problem, move on. That's why I'm not willing to listen to this bullshit about, like, yeah, obviously sexless marriages are a big problem, but don't tell me that they're a big problem because of what women think men need sex for. The thing is like, if I go, like, imagine me, Rollo Tomasi, I go up to the local church here. It's a Sunday today, right? And I want to go and say, Pastor, sorry, I'm going to be the guest pastor today. I'm going to step up to the pulpit and I'm going to go and say, ladies, fuck your husbands. Just get out and just go home and get in shape, look the best you can, get some Honey Burdette lingerie, which is really great. I'll get you a discount. And really, it will solve a plethora of problems. Suddenly, everything will change for you. Be enthusiastic. Look at him with, like, you really want to get with him. And I could go up there and do that, and I will sound like the devil incarnate. Because what I'm doing is I'm effectively removing a woman's ability to choose when to have, who and with whom and when to have sex with. That's what it comes down to. I'm essentially removing consent by saying you should. For the Lord said you should do this. Like, I go and I make that declaration, that proclamation. Any male pastor, it doesn't have to be me. I do that. I've effectively removed hypergamy. I've effectively removed choice. I've effectively removed consent too, because that's why I know Monica is probably going to watch this, so I'm just going to say it right now. Duty sex. A lot of guys who don't fuck, when they get into a relationship and then they get married and they go, well, hey, we were having great sex for the first 3 months and now the pussy's dried up. it's your wifely duty to you be available to me, right? Don't deny you. Like the wife's body is the husband's and the husband's body is the wife's, right? It's here it is. It's right here in this Bible. It's here in this Bible. It says right here in this for scripture, whatever the fuck, right? Down by law. Do you, what gets me is this, is like, even the duty sex, even the obligation, like what Monica will say is, it's still worth it to just, insist on duty sex, right? And if you're one of the 80%ers and the contract you got into was you get sex and women owe you sex, your wife owes you sex, I'm going to tell you right now, most modern Christian trad wife, whatever you want to call them, women are going to fight you tooth and nail on that, but not for the same reason that progressive, wokesy, liberal women will. Liberal women will just say it's marital rape. That's easy, like right off. Okay. If you're a tradcon woman, if you're a conservative Christian woman, you have to come up with other reasons. Right. And they got to be founded in scripture or something like that. And so usually what it comes down to is you're not performing up to the Lord's specifications for me to want to actually fuck you. And I will tell you this right now, the main reason or the main reply I get whenever I talk about sexless marriages is this: well, is he somebody that his wife wants to get with? Shouldn't matter. It says right here in the Bible. Do you believe in the Bible? Do you believe in your religion? Well, yeah, but he has to do these things and he has to make more money and he has to look better and he has to jump through these hoops and he has to perform and he has to obey the rules that I set for him. And what do we know about rules? Women break rules for alphas and they make more rules for betas. So when that woman was she was in college and so crazy in her college years, and all the guys that she got with in her college years, I'm not saying they're all like this, but I'm just saying like in the men in her past who didn't have to jump through those hoops, got it for free, got it because she was enthusiastic, got it because she wanted to have sex with that guy. That dude now has to jump through God knows how many hoops and how many religious doctrines and and not just imposed on him by the wife, but also the pastor, by also the online community, by anybody else, by family, by friends, by whatever. Well, Joe, here's what I think you ought to do. The Lord says, you need to do these and you need to do that. You need to be emotionally available. And usually they end up being criteria based on communication, acceptance, affirmation, validation, blah, blah, emotional availability, whatever the fuck that means, right? That woman just said is the way that men, like the reason why men need sex, their needs. But her needs come before that. So before you get your needs met, the one need you have, remember the one that basically the entire marriage is riding on, that's the glue that holds the relationship together, despite whether that like one guy said in the beginning, oh, she doesn't have to have anything. She just has to exist and I'm happy. Boy, would that be great. God, that would be awesome if that was just the case, because then we wouldn't have any problems communicating whatsoever if that was the case. But that's not the case. What do you bring to the table? Well, it better be pussy at the very minimum. I need a woman to cook and clean. I don't need a woman to cook and clean. I need a woman who fucks, wants to. I shouldn't say that. I need a woman who has genuine desire, who at 2:00 in the afternoon looks at me and goes, let's go upstairs. That who still looks at you, not because it's an obligation, but because she has a genuine desire to do so. That's the difference between duty sex, the obligation, the biblical obligation of duty sex, and man, I really want to fuck him. That's the difference. And I will guarantee you those women who are like hemming and hawing about that, you took them to like a Thunder from Down Under show, or you put them in some place, you put them on Temptation Island. Thank you, Netflix. They'll just love watching that show. All of the stuff, all of the shit when women talk about communication and this, all that ephemeral emotional bullshit, all of that flies out the window when the guy is hot and she's drunk and one thing led to another, or the guy just fits the bill. So yes, there's a visceral aspect to it, and you do yourself no favors by not acknowledging that. Ladies and gentlemen, you do yourself a disservice. You shoot yourself in the foot by desexualizing yourself, by not acknowledging that, by focusing on communication and communion and intimacy. And like, again, those are container words, but they're distractions from the real reason. The real reason is it's visceral. Approach that. I mean, if you want to talk about that after post-nut clarity, then be my guest. But that's not the reason. That's not what motivates. What motivates is raw, chemical, visceral lust. I'm here to defend lust, at least to a degree, in such not that damaging point, but that want. I get into it with these guys, and they tend. These are the 80%ers. These are the guys who want to tell me that I'm wrong and that I'm like I'm promoting sexual iniquity or whatever the fuck it is, right? Like, I'm not a biblical scholar, so I don't know. But they want to challenge me on this and say, well, if you look at a woman with lust in your heart, then you have committed adultery with her, right? So that's sort of like the get out of jail free card for wives. If a guy is like addicted to porn, it's sexual immorality and it's adultery technically, because you're looking at that woman. Jesus said you're looking at that woman with lust in your heart. I'm like, well, then if that's the case, then let's say most marriages are founded on adulterous lust, because there has to be at some point you got to go, man, I really want to tap that ass. I really want to fuck this chick. Oh, but we got to read the Bible, and we got to go to church camp, and we got to do these things. And we got to make sure that everything's by the book and by the number so that we can get to that point. Awesome. But remember, going down to the point of inception, the little inception point down at the bottom of that is you were 19 and she was 19 or she was 18 or whatever, and you met at the church camp and you go, man, Susie looks fucking hot. I'm going to get after it with that. Everything's based on that. At least that's the starting point. You could say, well, but then we have, why is it that women will say, like, when you're having sex, like you're out of wedlock, when you're having like premarital sex, why is it that like when you suddenly get married and then you start having sex, what's the first thing women will say? Well, you're going to make an honest woman of me. No, you just wanted to get there. You just wanted to get from point A to point B. You're going to finally make an honest woman of me. Now, the honesty is that lust is a necessary part of that whole process. There's a chemical reaction. There is a spontaneousness. There is genuine desire. If that is not there, ladies, from the very beginning, don't ruin a man's life by saying that, oh, he'll become hot sooner or later. Or, well, I guess he'll do. No, I'm 100% for, by the way, I'm 100% for women having very high standards with men. 100%. Even Mike will say the same thing. I'm 100% for that. But I'm also 100% for women being responsible about that. So if women say, well, yeah, I have very high standards. I need him to do this. I need him to do that. Blah, blah, blah. You have all these rules, whatever. Women will, by and large, dump those rules for the right guy. Right? If the guy, I think it was Royce who he has this really great post way back in 2010, I think it was. And it was something about I'm going to paraphrase the title here. It was like, women's standards crumble like a house of cards under the right circumstances. And he started in the essay about this story about some woman that he knew, was in their social circle, newly single. And she rattled off a bunch of things she needs in a guy. She's doing it right now. Epiphany phase all the way, right? I'm doing things right. Okay. What do you need? He's got to be gainfully employed. He's got to have this kind of money. He's got to be this tall. He's got to have six-pack abs. He's got to have like just standard stuff you wouldn't even hear today, right? 6'5", blue eyes, trust fund, blah, blah, all that stuff. More or less that. And then about 2 weeks later, she's talking about her new boyfriend. Her boyfriend checked off one thing on her previous list. And it was pretty much just a looks-based thing, right? He's got to be at least thin. He's got to be athletic. Okay, so he checked that out. But the guy's like a barista or something like that, or he's an aspiring actor or some shit. Right? Didn't matter. Standards crumble like a house of cards. So when women tell you that they've got these really high standards and they, for their acceptance, I will tell you right now, most of that is bullshit. It's based on status. It's based on looks. People want to say it's based on money. Money is just a form of status, really. But even money is not that big a deal. The most ass I ever got was when I was at my poorest. It's just, you got to be the character. You got to be what they want to get involved with. But see, I know this. So when I listen to this bullshit, and I listen to other guys sort of like affirm that, they back that up, they reinforce it. I'm like, no, they just don't want to hear the visceral realities of the fact that men's needs boil down to one thing. I need to get off. I need to have a hot chick. I just want to fuck a chick for the sake of fucking a hot chick. Can I just do that? No, you can't. There's got to be some astral projection or cosmic rays, or there's got to be some like meaningful sex, right? Like, I hate that fucking term. I wouldn't want to be like Dan Bilzerian or Mike or Rolo. They just have meaningless sex. Like, I have never had meaningless sex. I have meant to fuck every girl I was ever with. No, because it is what it is, man. And you got to remember, like back in my day, when I was in my 20s, my early to mid 20s, there was porn, but it was like on VHS and magazines and stuff like that. So it wasn't nearly as ubiquitous as it is right now, but it was like, I didn't care anyways. I wanted to figure out how to get laid. I already knew what I needed. And for the most part, a lot of women did too. But now we got to come up with we got to glaze it over. We got to add layers on top of the inception. We got to add more complexities to it. And then guys buy into that shit. And the more they don't fuck, the more they buy into it. And again, I've been sort of picking on the religious aspect of this. It's not. It's also something you'll get from the progressive liberal wokesy side too. They'll say the same things. They'll say almost to the letter, men need sex because they want communication and da da da. They'll say the same thing. They're basically agreeing with religious girl, right? We got Rolo. Love your book. Oh, thanks, brother, for the $20. Love your books. It changed my life. See, I told you. Ever consider writing fiction? I'm already working on fiction right now. Recently returned to trade school for some certifications. Noticed many young men talking about Dune, Aragorn, Lord of the Rings, Titus, and 40. Yeah, well, 40K is definitely the top of the list. Problem is, I would love very much to be able to write for Black Library, but that is a very closed circle, and I don't think they would appreciate me. I would love to do that, but I don't know. And then you don't really own your work because it's all trademarked. But I have a work of fiction that I'm working on right now. We need new male-centric media. Yes, we do. And that's you know who does have a new work of fiction? Ryan Stone. He has a follow-up, a sequel to his cyberpunk original that he just came out with. What's it called? Ghost of Odessa, I think is the name of the book. He's very good, surprisingly good at fiction. I never thought I'd say that about Ryan. He's really actually pretty good at it. But yeah, he's got a new one out. I believe it just hit Amazon today or this week. But yeah, there's guys. There's a new anthology from the guys in Masculine Geek. They're a collection of short stories that they put together, and they are, as you know, I presume fantasy, sci-fi kind of stuff. Would you like to know what I'm working on? I've always been of the opinion that like guys like need to recapture literature, period. But certainly creative, like fantasy, sci-fi, whatever your thing is. I mean, it doesn't have to be that. It could be like, you know, Tom Clancy, right? Justin is it Baldacci? No, David Baldacci. Yeah. Trying to think who else is there. Patterson is a good one. I'm trying to think of male writers who are like very prolific right now. I think Taylor Sheridan gets it. I don't know if he has any books out, but he certainly a writer, certainly writes stories. I think that it's necessary to maintain unapologetic masculine archetypal heroes. Like I said before, the Captain Kirks, the Han Solos, not the, I mean, yeah, okay, the Arnold Schwarzeneggers too, but like, but primarily the characters that were like, that young men grew up with, right? You have to remember that, comic books were written for teenage boys back in the 50s and yeah, you could go back to the 30s, but like 50s and 60s and Marvel Comics 60s, right? Trying to think golden age of comics. I know it's before that, but like, but they're based on male archetypes. Captain America and Iron Man are two male archetypes. They're both alpha archetypes. One of them is lawful good. The other one is chaotic good. Right? Spider-Man was, it's the fantasy of having, terrific. It's being an ordinary kid in extraordinary circumstances, right? And with great power comes great responsibility. Right? Even Luke Skywalker, right? That's a hero's journey. Like, be able to write those things and do it unapologetically. And I go say, well, there aren't any strong female characters in here. Fuck you. It's my book. I'll do what I want to. That's what I mean by unapologetic. But yeah, I'm working on. I have a. God, I don't want to give it away, but I have a work of fiction right now. But it's not. It's semi. God, I want to say fantasy. It's not really fantasy so much. It's supernatural, I guess. But you don't know that for most of the book, right? You don't know the reason for it, right? It's kind of like one of those you kind of know that, but you kind of don't. You're like, do I have to suspend my disbelief or do I not? Right. Based on historical like time periods anyways. I don't have like some fantasy. I'm not writing cyberpunk. I'm not writing Lord of the Rings. Fantasy has been overdone. I will leave that to the professionals. I would rather create my own world and my own genre, which I think is necessary because what else is there? Like I was watching, it was the Alien Earth, which ruined Alien. I love the series, but as far as the cohesiveness of the Alien franchise, it completely ruined the cohesiveness for it. I thought it was fantastic. Same thing with Predator, man. People keep saying like, they didn't want, like, people were shitting all over Predator, the Prey movie with the girl was basically Brave, in Predator. And people said, it's not worth watching. It's just, girl power shit. And I'm like, okay. And then Mike said, no, you should check it out and see what you think. And I did. And I actually liked it. I thought it was a pretty good standalone story. You kind of have to get past the girl power shit, but it's not all girl power. She's with her older brother too. So, and then the most recent one, which was Predator Badlands, which was a pretty good standalone movie. And it focuses like the main character is just the Predator, right? And then there's the chick who's this, I won't give it away. There's the synthetic girl. But I thought it was pretty good. I didn't hate it. But that's an old franchise. Star Wars is an old franchise. Marvel Comics, technically. Like, it was funny. I watched Wonder Man on Disney, and it was the first Marvel thing I actually kind of got into in a long time, since since Endgame. Everything else has been shit, man. Even like I haven't seen the Ahsoka thing on Disney. Haven't bothered with any of that because I just saw the clips and I'm just like, I'm not gonna. Why would I bother? You're gonna ruin my memories of a good series here. But I think they could be done well, but not by who's doing them right now. And then the other thing is like, why don't we have like new genres? Okay, we got Star Wars, great. We got Star Trek, great. We got Lord of the Rings, awesome. We got, by the way, what is it? Masters of the Universe is coming up in June 5th, man. Please don't suck. Please don't suck. Please don't suck. They're gonna crush that part of you. My childhood, nostalgia has been just so dragged through the mud. Please don't do this again. I gotta have something, man. Yeah, I gotta have something. I don't know. We'll see. So anyways, back to the topic. I have this other thing, that one last little hoochie here that I wanted to talk about. Let's see. We're talking about videos. I'm going to get into some videos here. I talked about, did we get to body count? Yeah, we got to that. Where's the other one? Responsive desire. This kind of dovetails into women teaching men how men ought to think about sex, right? Rather than just like I mean, a guy couldn't possibly do this, but a woman can. So
many women blame their low libido for having no interest in sex. One thing that you ladies need to understand about yourselves: as women, we are wired, for the most part, to have what is called responsive desire, in contrast to what men typically have, which is spontaneous desire, meaning at any given time they might have arousal. We as women often don't even experience that arousal until we are in the act.
No. Let me remember, this is post facto versus before the fact. So yeah, in essence, like what this is where Monica goes with a lot of this stuff, right? When she's talking about like duty sex. Well, once you get into it, she looks at sex, for like married sex, as like going to the gym, right? You might not want to do it, but once you get there, you feel good that you're doing it, and you're glad you went and you had a good time, and you're building and so you're sort of like this regular, like persistent effort, I think. Okay, I get it, but to say that that women are about this responsive desire, I can tell you, as a guy who used to fuck, who still fucks, right? As a guy who has enjoyed sexual opportunities for a good portion of my life, who is still actually making, doing podcasts about that, with surrounded by beautiful women all the time, I can tell you right now, she's correct about guys spontaneous, but that spontaneity is due to one thing: 17 times the amount of serum testosterone that women do. That is not to say that women can't actually have spontaneous desire. They do. Trust me. Go to watch any 40-year-old divorcee at Thunder Down Under. Thunder from Down Under. There's a reason why sex toys, the sales of sex toys, are predominantly dildos and whatever for women. There's a reason for that. And it ain't responsive desire. It had nothing to do with responsive desire. It has to do with, hey, I'm going to, like, why do women watch porn? They do. Why do women want to seek out violent porn? It's not, you think, well, I'm going to start watching this violent shit and just, sooner or later, I'll get into it. No, it's desire for the guy before the act, before it happens. That's what it is. It's not responsive. Well, women take a long time to get warmed up. Yeah, but they have to want to get warmed up in the first place. God damn it, man. It's like I don't know. It's frustrating as fuck to listen to this, because this is like, again, this is just cope. It is rationalization. Oh, then you'll realize that once you're in the act, you're going to have it's really fun and really enjoyable, and you want to have sex, right? No, you want that beforehand. That's why, like Monica will say, men need to initiate because of responsive desire. Okay, I get that. By what percentage? Right? I've put polls out on Twitter asking exactly this question, and it's very difficult to get an accurate assessment of this question, which is, I'll ask married men, when was the last time like your wife initiated sex with you? Looked at you, you're coming in from chopping wood outside. I don't know. You're at the beach, you're on vacation. It could be that. It could be whatever. You're coming out of the shower and she goes, oh man, like, take me now, right? Or she starts loving up on you and initiating and starts giving you a Hummer right on the couch or something like that. I don't know. initiation. How often does that happen? And by my metrics, which is highly unscientific and not scientific, but by my Twitter poll, statistics, I would say a good like 90% of guys say they initiate all the time, 100% of the time. They always have to. There's the guys who are married who their wives initiate like half of the time or maybe a third of the time. But those are very, very small percentages of the marriages, at least according to the guys that I've polled on Twitter, right? Initiating something, especially after, like I said, the thrill is gone. the genuine desire to get after it is different in marriage than it is when you are single. And the reason for that is the sense of urgency is gone. The genuine desire is gone. The competition desire is gone. The dread is mostly gone, right? That urgency is mostly gone because you're familiar. You're no longer boyfriend. You're no longer that hot guy she met at the club. You're dad. You're father. You are husband, which is is anti-seductive. It's comfort. It's rapport. It's security. And as I was I wrote this again. I put this in I wrote an article just today, published it today on Twitter. If you want to read it, it's called "Women Want Safe Danger." Women love safe danger that's safe, and it's really a paradox, right? It's the safety need, and I think it was who said this? I can go dig it up. There's a really good quote in it too. Let me go grab my articles here. My published articles. Women want safe danger. And the quote was this. And I got this from Dr. What's her name? Not Deborah So, but here we go. Dr. Taylor Burrows. She said this too. And I kind of half agree with the post. I linked the post that's in the article. But like she ended her post by saying, desire without safety repels women. Safety without desire bores women. So you need to have both and they need to be calibrated. The problem with that is that, first off, guys give up. That's number one. So the danger part of things goes away. You know what's dangerous in marriage? Breaking up. What's dangerous in marriage? Dread. What's dangerous in marriage? Hanging out with hot chicks on Access Vegas on every other week. Going out and being in a business where you're surrounded by beautiful people, and the potential is there, even though you trust that person implicitly. The fact that, or here's what it was. Who was it? Nikki Glaser was just saying on Call Her Daddy, the Call Her Daddy podcast, right? Nikki Glaser was just saying this. She was just saying how she's a cut queen. She likes the thought, anyways, of her boyfriend or husband, I don't know if they're married, whatever, her dude banging other girls, which is funny because it's exactly the same thing that Justin Waller's wife said in the Manosphere documentary. But it makes him look Darwinistic, manipulative, and Machiavellian or whatever if she says that. But it's empowering if Nikki Glaser says that. That's the difference. Same sentiment, same thing, describing the same act and behavior comes from Nikki Glaser on Call Her Daddy. Everybody's like, comes from Justin Waller's wife. Horrible. He manipulates her. Right? But she that's what she's into, and that's what Nikki Glaser is into. But and why is that? Because the urgency is there. The people want to call it compersion. I don't know where the fuck we came up with this, but like there's supposed to be I think it's probably a Freudian or a Jungian terminology. Essentially, it's eroticizing the jealousy instinct is what it comes down to. It's what most like. If you ever wonder why cuckold porn is like popular, or how people get into like guys get off on cuckoldry, on their own cuckoldry, it's because they have learned through repetition eroticize their jealousy instinct. The jealousy instinct doesn't go away. They just turn it into something that gets them off. And by the way, this isn't Rollo Tomasi saying this. This is actually Jeff Miller saying this, Dr. Jeff Miller, who is also a very evangelizes, a very strong proponent for polyamory. Diana Fleischman also, which I think is his wife, is also in that open relationship. They have gone on podcast after podcast extolling the virtues of polyamory. They should know better. But the jealousy response is there. And if you can eroticize the jealousy response, then you get cuckold porn. Simple as that. And from there, it can be a spiral out of control. But if you've ever wondered why that's a thing, or in this case, like for Nikki Glaser, she gets off on that. Maybe Justin's wife gets off on that. So again, but what's the appeal? The appeal is the genuine desire that doesn't happen. That jealousy doesn't happen unless that woman has genuine desire for that guy. So Nikki Glaser doesn't get off on watching her boyfriend / husband, whatever, bang other girls if she's not already invested in that guy, if she's not already hot for that guy, if she doesn't already have natural desire for that guy. That's why it's hot. Mystery has said this forever. Now he applies this to the pickup artist, kind of like the running approaches, right? With opening sets, right? A woman cannot feel love for you, or cannot be into you at least, unless she feels some sense of jealousy for you. And it makes 100% sense. I've talked to him about this on the interview that I did with him. Women who can't feel jealousy for you don't care. They can't feel jealous, right? And that's where this all boils down to. And that's why I'm saying this responsive desire is bullshit, because it comes down to the jealousy instinct. Let me let her finish. This is actually too good to not let her go.
So the problem is, a lot of women tell themselves, well, if I don't want it, I'm not going to do it. But here's the catch. Then you're never actually going to want it, because wanting it often for us women biologically comes after we decide to do it. Here's an analogy. It's been a long week, but you promised you would go to this party that your friend is having for their birthday. You're exhausted. You would rather stay home and be in your sweats, but you say, you know what? I committed to it, so I'm gonna go show up. You get to the party and you end up having an amazing time. You're probably even re-energized after being with a bunch of your friends. Sex can be like this, but it won't if you don't show up to the party. Because ladies, for us, oftentimes it takes revving the engine a little bit to go, I actually do like this. I must have forgotten. And so what we need to do is begin to hold sex in high value and prioritize it.
Okay, so prioritizing it. I love this. Is like we have to find, like, the thing is like, for like women who are instinctive, for women who are like prioritize emotion before rationality, because that's where women start, right? Women don't have any problem with like cognitive dissonance. And they will laugh at certain things that they know. It's like, I know I do that, and can find any rationale to explain why they do certain things, even though they know damn well it's instinct and emotion that move them to do that particular behavior, except when we're talking about married sex, except when it's like that. Now it's like, well, listen to the reason. We have to prioritize it. We have to make it something. We have to put it on a checklist. We have to put it down on put it on the menu. We have to now. What's funny to me is guys who will track the reasons why their wife won't have sex with them on an Excel spreadsheet, right? And say, here's why you said no from January 1st of this year to, December 31st of this year, and just give you this itemized list. And we call that guy like a spurg. We call that guy a gamma male. We call that guy, I had a headache. I had this, and it's like this laundry list of reasons why when he approached and she rejected him, these were the reasons that she gave, right? And that guy goes down and he's prioritizing it. He's being very mechanical about the whole thing. And we call that guy a spurg. And we call that guy like socially inept, right? He's a gamma male, right? But when women do this and they prioritize this, and we got to make sure that we're on schedule, and we got to put it on the dry erase marker that's on, have sex, put it on the dry erase marker board on the refrigerator. We don't have a problem with that. Then it's okay. Then it's just fine for women to basically turn into what gamma males do. Like, you do the same thing, a prioritization, the rationalization of things, the ordering of things, the list keeping of things. Then it's okay, rather than understanding what it is and what it's for. I don't want a woman who says, hey, you know what? We haven't had, okay, it says here on the dry erase marker on the fridge, we were supposed to have sex right now. Get upstairs, mister. What? No. I want that spontaneity, man. What about when we fucked in the back seat before we were married? What about that time when I got pulled into the bathroom at a gig I was playing at? I got pulled into this true story. I was playing a gig in Southern California. I was in Hollywood. I got pulled into, like, I almost missed the gig because we were playing with like 4 other bands, and I just hooked up with this one girl, and she and her friend were really into me at the same time, right? They really wanted to get after it with me, and I was, because this is my rock star, like early rock star 20s. Again, here we go. I don't humble brag, but they dragged me into the women's bathroom and go after, and I go, when we go after it, I'll leave it at that. Okay. I didn't have to prioritize anything. I didn't have to like spoon with these girls on the couch. Oh, is it time yet? I didn't have to make sure that my drapes matched the carpet, matched the door. I didn't have to go to Bed Bath & Beyond and have matching pillows, or make sure the barometric pressure in the room was fine. You know, Venus was aligned with Pluto and shit like that. I didn't have to do that. You know why? Because they were fucking hot and they wanted to fuck. That's all there was. That's all that it boiled down to. It was just that desire. It was carnal, visceral, genuine, urgent desire, spontaneous desire. Your wife, this woman right here, she's just as capable of that, but not for the dude she's with. That dude needs to find some way to keep that bitch on edge, to be the guy to be the guy that fucks. As I keep saying before, like, you know, women don't want a man to cheat. Just like, you know, Nikki Glaser and all this other shit. You know, women don't want a man to cheat, but they love a man who could. And that was the reason, that was the rationale that Nikki gave. She says, I like the fact, I get off on the fact that like other women want to fuck my man. Same thing with Justin Waller's wife, Kristen. Same thing. I'm turned on by the fact that other women want to fuck him, because no woman wants a guy that no other woman wants. Responsive desire. Do you think that that's an issue for Justin Waller and his wife? Do you think that's an issue for Nikki Glaser and her husband? Do you think that's an issue whatsoever? No, it's not, because they're sexually compatible and they understand that shit. They're not making videos about response. Oh, you gotta get me warmed up and then I'll like it. That sounds like you're trying to sell me on something that you don't. It's like getting me to eat my broccoli as a kid, man.
Because it is very important for keeping the relationship strong. Not only does it help your husband feel loved and wanted and deeply connected to you, but it's actually good for your connection, your emotional strength within the relationship, and your nervous system and your stress to calm down and recenter.
Okay, so every ambiguous, feel-good, therapy speak horseshit that you heard from Pastor Girl comes out as the rationale for essentially obligated. I'm not even going to call it duty sex. Obligated sex. You're obligated. It's negotiated desire. She's negotiating it to herself, or she's trying to negotiate it for other women. But it boils down to this. Do you want to fuck him or not? Do you think, is he hot? Does he turn you on? Does his body turn you on? Does his, the biceps and his V taper and, whatever, does his ass turn you on? Are you aroused by him at all? And here's the other thing. You could talk all day about how, well, let me let her finish. Hold on.
When you are having regular sexual intimacy with your husband. So don't just go off of whether or not you have some spontaneous arousal, especially after having children. That's not happening very frequently for most women.
Why?
Instead, say sex is important and I'm going to protect it and prioritize it in my relationship. And from that, remember through experience that this is really good for me too.
Congratulations, you've just negotiated having sex with your husband, with yourself, and the rest of these other people. What would it take for you to want to have sex with you? You have to have sex rather than you want to have sex. That's what we come back to, why women's needs are more important than men's needs. Right? We've got to find some way, some rationale, some way to explain all this stuff. So the explanation becomes, we're going to strengthen the relationship. Oh, hi, Ned. Ned decided to drop in. If he's going to lay down, oh my goodness, look here, you get a rare Ned sighting. It's the Ned cam, the return of the Ned cam. He's a good boy. There's Ned. He's a good boy. It's kind of low on that camera. Ned decided to drop in. That's his bed. He has a bed in the studio right now. There you go. I showed him at the end of the show on the last time I did a show in here too. And everybody loved it. But yeah, Ned has decided to grace us with his presence. Usually towards the end, now we're at the end of the show. So now's the time. So he must have just eaten because it's 4:00 and my wife usually feeds him around 4. And he comes in here and tells me, thank you. Thank you, master, for my food. And if you would like to feed him, feel free to give me a super chat. I mentioned this in Cappy's video, and that is the utilitarianism, meaning a woman's happiness is way above your own. Mm-hmm. Thank you. And here's the follow-up. Remember that popular utilitarian meme, happy wife, happy life. Happy wife, happy life is not a folklore. It is not a idiom. It is not a snappy little jingle that you say. Happy wife, happy life is an ultimatum. Do this or I won't be happy. And if I'm not happy, no pussy for you. Nothing, like, do what I want you to do. And I will guarantee you, like, that responsive desire bullshit, you can talk to your blue in the face about the responsive desire thing. And I will tell you this, is it will never outweigh women's genuine desire to spontaneous. It's not even spontaneous. It's just genuine desire. It's like, man, I can't wait to fuck my husband. I can't wait till to get after it with him. Because that is how men see their wives. I mean, presuming they're still in shape and they look good and they still turn them on. I'm not saying they're not exceptions. Because guys will want to have sex way more than women do. Statistically proven. I'll go grab would you like me to grab the study? I will. The more you explain this, the more I hear puppy get a biscuit and I get a treat if I'm a good boy. Yes, it's cookie time for good boy. It's all transactional at that point. What responsive desire is, at least in this instance, is women trying to talk themselves into duty sex or obligated sex. Because if they don't, well, you know what happens if he doesn't get his medicine. It's almost like when women say that men are not owed sex after a date, okay, but you're basically saying that men need to have sex with their wives because if they don't, bad things happen. And that's no basis for sex. Men don't see it that way. Men do not see it that way at all. If I don't have sex, bad things are going to happen. Why do men look at porn? Why do men get off way more than women anyways? Why do men resort to pornography? The virtual sex. Why would they do that? Not because they want communication, not because they want intimacy, not because they want to strengthen a relationship with whoever their favorite porn star is, not because of any of that ephemeral shit. They want to stroke one out because it's just animal. It's just visceral. You can add stuff on top of that all you want, but all that is just a post facto rationalizations at that point. Ladies, if you just understood that, then you would be in a better spot. None of this responsive desire stuff. What you should be asking yourself is this. Oh, I got to make a schedule, make sure that we have sex on this such and such a time. And we're going to put this on it's on the family dry erase board on the refrigerator. You need to understand, why do I not want to fuck this guy? That's a question you should be asking yourself. What does he do? Like, why did I want to have hot monkey sex with him in, the jacuzzi in Cancun when we were single? But now he's just not, the roller coaster ride is over. Now I have to schedule it. What is it? What is going on with me that I don't want to do that? Why is it that I don't feel that way? Maybe it's your testosterone. Like Monica Almaguer, the girl in the beginning, she's a proponent of TRT for women, which I 100% agree with. That might have something to do with it. But I think it's also the attitude, and I think it's also the natural desire to want to get with that guy. Now, you could say, well, that's on the guy, and you'd probably be right. But you're still wrong about the communications and intimacy and romance and all that other shit that you pile on top of it. You're still wrong about that. You might be right about the guy not being somebody that's like appealing and appetizing enough for you to want to get after it with. That I can guess. Okay. But don't rationalize that away by saying, well, I'm going to do it anyways. Starfish sex, whatever it is. Is he leaving? Where's he go? Oh, here he goes. There's Ned. Mister. Don't embarrass me, mister. But you don't like throw all that shit away just because, or don't dismiss that shit because you are rationalize it with reasons that men simply don't approach sex with. Like I said, I'm not saying that shit's not important. I'm just saying it's not like the impetus. It's not the motivation for it. Society and the doc are already cooked. The doc. Real men know the loopholes and the struggles. Keep up the great work, Rollo. I will do my best. Curse of the 20%er. Close, but no cigar. Yep. Well, all you got to do is value added. There is a lot of work to become a 4.5%er, right? Yes. People have asked me this before. When I do my reignite calls, especially this topic comes up. Can you go from being in the 20% to a 4.5% guy? Yeah, but I think most people don't understand most men especially do not understand the amount of work that you have to put in to get to that stage. Why would I do all that work to even be close to that? Convince me, please, just because I see trouble. Well, I won't try to convince you at all. If you think the juice is not worth the squeeze if you're in the 20 percentile, you are still, the thing that gets me is like people want to think that the manosphere in general or Rollo Tomassi in particular will say, well, beta males don't get laid. No, they do. Blue pill guys don't get laid. Oh, absolutely they do. In fact, that's the danger of it. Shit, when I was with my BPD girlfriend, I was very blue pill, but boy, I got laid. When I was in my rock star 20s, I didn't know what the red pill was. I just knew what worked for me. I was very much, I'd simped for some girls and some girls I just didn't care about. And then they were the ones who come and like crawl in my window to bang me, right? I didn't know why it worked. I didn't know what was going on. I was very blue pill. Some cases I might have even been a simp, but I was getting laid. It's possible for sure. But some guys get laid in spite of themselves. And so if it's not worth it to you to try to up your game to the 4.5 percentile, and for most guys, it's kind of difficult. Can you get to the 8th percentile? I guess there's a 20 percentile at the very top is like the 4.5%, right? Can you get, because technically the 4.5% would mean that the 20% is what, like 14.5, right? I mean, mathematically, it would say that. But let's just say there's the 20 percentile, and within that 20 percentile exists the 4.5% guys that men or that women like will actively go after. Can you get to the 8th percentile? Can you get to the 6th percentile? Can you get to the 10th percentile? Like cut your like improve your awe. If you're in the 20th percentile and you can push yourself to the 10, like can you half that? Can you do that too? I don't know. Would it be worth it then? I know I'm splitting hairs. This is just all semantics at this point. Tell me why it's worth it. I'll tell you why it's worth it, because fucking is fun. Having sex is awesome. A variety of sex is great. Why do I, Rollo? I hate pornography. No, you don't. You love the variety of pornography. You know why? Because men's sexual strategy, their innate sexual strategy, is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. You hate what comes after it. You don't hate it for what it is, because it offers you exactly what your biology evolved for in the virtual sense. So when I say, well, why don't you be the kind of guy? Do you lack the sports fucking gene? Should you be, spinning plates? Guys think that when I say spinning plates, it means you're fucking every last one. No, what I mean is you're dating non-exclusively. You don't necessarily have to be fucking any or all of them. It just comes down to like what, exploring your options, having options in the first place. Women hate that too, man, because all I'm doing is exploiting their own dating strategy. That's really all it is reserving your options. We call, like, if a woman has a bunch of male suitors and she's like dating them and picking the best from amongst them, we call that being prudent. Why would we not say the same thing about guys, especially now? That's why I mean, say what you want, but most people have sex before marriage. Most people have premarital sex. Simple as that. And that's always going to be the way it is because of different ages of adulthood, right? We tell our kids that when they're 18, they're adults, right? You can vote. You can go join the army when you're 18 years old. Okay. But are you an adult when you're 18? You could say so. Some guys might be. When you get to be 21, you can drink. Now you're adult. This is the United States. When you are 25 years old and you're out of college and maybe you start making a little more money, now are you an adult? Can't afford a house. Now you're 32 and you've got money. You've sort of figured yourself out a little bit more. And maybe by the time you get to, so there's 32 and then you get to 36. Are you an adult now that you're 36? Because what I would argue is this, is like, if you're going to say to me, like, I'm quoting from, I'm actually kind of paraphrasing this from a guy named, well, he's on Reddit. He's called Whisper. He's a very prolific writer, fantastic dude. He was talking about the differences in ages of adulthood for men. And you could say the same thing for women too, but he was focusing on men at this point. An 18-year-old kid, we still can't say a kid, is technically a man. He can die for his country. He can vote, but he can't drink, but we still call him an adult. He's no longer a minor anymore. So he has adult responsibilities. He is liable for adult crimes, but there's also, he's a citizen, yada, yada, whatever you want to call it. He's no longer a minor. Is he still an adult though? Well, you can't necessarily, most 18-year-old boys can't like afford a house. So does making money make you an adult? Does having is becoming more? Like, now you got a car, now you got this, now you got that. Like, at what point? Like, what's different stages of maturity for men? I've talked about phases of maturity for women, but when we look at phases of maturity for men, it's really based on performance. Once again, performance hierarchies, right? Ideally, you're going to be a better performer at 25 than you were at 18, and again, ideally, if you're 32, you should be a better performer at that age than 25. And you should be progressively getting better and better. Okay, well, once you get to that point, does that make you an adult? The whole thing is if the criteria for marriage is based on that guy having certain assets, being an adult, whatever, and that woman only wants to get with the guys who are elite level guys in the first place. Like we said, average women don't want to marry average men, right? Average guy is not going to be, probably in the US, is probably never going to be able to afford a house. Women actually own more real estate than men do today in the United States. We become a renter society, but like, let's just say for sake of argument, we're going to say that this guy is a guy at 18 mature enough to marry a woman and start a family and start having sex. Well, theoretically, yes, but we already know that the average age of first marriage for men in the United States is 32, and for women, it's 30. So you're going to tell me that the old school rules for premarital sex should apply to the average man at 32, and he's never going to have sex until he's 32 years old? And the woman's 30 and probably, and most likely as a redeemed OF girl, whatever. And even if she's not, right? You're still going to base like that sexual mature, like you're not mature enough. You're basically saying you're not mature enough to have sex until you're able to get married. Well, if that's the case, and I can't become that elite level dude that everyone says that I have to be so that I can have regular sex with my wife in the first place, who, might or might not want me genuinely anyways. And I got to wait till like 32. That's a reasonable age. I've pretty like most guys are going to live. What is the average age for men is like 76 years old. I hope I live longer than that. I think I will. But the average lifespan for men is 76 years old. I'm already a third of the way into my life, and now I'm okay to have sex. That's why men and women have sex out of wedlock. That's why they have premarital sex. Sorry, but I mean, that might have worked back in the days when we lived to be 40 years old. That might have worked in the days of Abraham. It's people ask me, they say, "Roller, you preach premarital sex." I'm like, no, I think as a religious tenet, it has merit. I think that premarital, not, I think that prearranged marriages actually make sense too. I think they're entirely untenable in the 21st century, but I do think that those things make sense. I understand the mechanics and the logic behind them. Absolutely. I would have loved to have been able to pick out the guy that my daughter was going to marry. I didn't. And she's, mature. And I raised a daughter who is like resilient enough and has the wisdom enough to pick a good guy. Got it. Good. Well, that means I did my job, right? But I would have loved to have been able to say, okay, I'm going to marry my daughter off for 3 heads of cattle and a herd of sheep. That would have been great, man. I would have loved very much not to have spent the amount of money I did on my daughter's wedding. But how many guys, well, I guess I was in my 50s, but like how many guys can afford not only their own weddings, but the weddings that are of their daughters later in life? Are you an adult now? That's the thing that gets me is that we base certain social conventions, like old school, like religious social conventions, and still think that they should apply or still have some sort of merit. We don't even understand the realities about them in the 21st century. And now that we know more about human dynamics, I'm not saying that they're bad, or I'm not endorsing. This is not an endorsement, and this is not a demonization of anything. I'm just saying, it seems to me kind of untenable. There's a lot of work to be done. Oh, okay. So, but why would you want to be that 4%? Well, I don't know. Do you like fucking? Do you want to actually like do you watch porn? Like, if you see a chick and she's a really smoking hot chick, right? And you want to bang that chick, like, does that make it worth it? Like, do you want to experience that? For instance, that's like asking me, like, Rolo, is it worth it to learn to play guitar? You ask me, fuck yeah, it's worth it. I don't make any money at it. Never have made any money at it. I've gotten laid because of it, which was definitely an incentive back in the day. But I still make music today with my friends, my band, and bands before that. And I'm proud of the stuff I did. Will it ever be played on the radio? Will everybody be humming it later in life when I'm gone? No, but it was still enjoyable. The creative process was awesome. So I could say, well, it wasn't worth it to do all that. So I should never have learned guitar in the first place. It wasn't worth it. Why would I want to be one of those 4.5%ers that knows how to shred? Because I did, because it was fun, because I wanted the experience. Why would I learn to be a writer? Why would I learn to figure out podcasting? Why would I want to learn, which I've come a long way, I think. Why would I want to learn public speaking? Why would I want to learn how to, socialize with the women that I do on Access Vegas? It's enjoyable. I dig it. It's awesome. Do you want the experience or do you not want the experience? If you don't, then like, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you should just like, maybe be happy with just being in the 10th percentile. You don't want to be in the 80th percentile, but let's just say you're in the, and then be able and be self-aware enough to know that women are going to want you to jump through hoops. And then when you decline that, maybe that pushes you up in the percentile. Right? I don't think that like people want to say that being in the 20th percentile, like if you're a 20%er where you're kind of like meh, like women are like, maybe he'll do, but you're the value added guy. You're the guy that she doesn't really have any like visceral like want to fuck, but you might do if you had some sort of value added, right? So you become talented. So you put in the work. So you get a better body. So you do like there's ways to up yourself in the ranks within the 20th percentile. You can do that. Absolutely you can. The difficulty I have, the problem I think most guys have is they're unaware that they're in the 20th percentile. They think that they're supposed to jump through those hoops. They think that they're like, what I've always said is women break rules for alphas and they make rules for betas. If you're in the 20th percentile and you're obeying the rules and you're going like, yeah, well, those are rules. I got to do this. I got to make sure I got that going. I get all my ducks in a row before she wants to spread her legs for me. If you don't understand the game and you're in the 20th percentile, you're fucked. That's when it's a bad thing. When it's a good thing is you go, okay, I'm in the 20th percentile. I realize this. She's going to want me to, she's probably fucking alphas, but like, you know, I still got to get laid. I want to find somebody who is like sort of on the same equal footing as me. And, you know, I understand that you could still keep improving yourself. I'm not going to give you the Andrew Tate, like, get off this, stop being a fucking pussy. I'm not going to give you that. But you can find ways to improve yourself. Absolutely. Guys go to MOA. I've seen dudes like make such marked like improvement. Guys in my Reignite club, my Reignite group. I've seen guys, I know guys personally, I'm not going to name names, they know who they are, who have been at my Reignite stuff. Hell, just a year ago in Miami, I've had guys get laid as a result. And they're between the ages of, look, I'm thinking of in his late 50s. There are guys who will have improved their chances, who have improved themselves, improved their lives as a result of working on themselves and doing stuff. It does happen. And they're getting laid with women who are much younger than they are too. Don't let anybody tell you that's oh, those guys just want to remember. They don't think they still got it. No, women, they want those guys. Shit, God, I wish I could show you. I'm not going to do it. I'm resisting this impulse. You got to remember, you got to realize that this is really hard for me to do. I'm resisting the impulse to show you a picture of the chick that my partner, Joe Marone, is his girlfriend right now. He's dating like pretty regularly right now. And she is 24 and he is my age, 58, something like that, 59. And she is an absolute smoke show. And no, it's not sugar daddy. And no, it's like she's genuinely down with this guy, right? Now, is he going to marry her and have babies and everything? No, probably not. But the fact of the matter is this is a guy who came out of a divorce, reinvented himself, and is in a much, much better place than he ever was in his marriage. And you know what he doesn't have to do? He doesn't have to worry about responsive desire from the hottie that he's with right now. He doesn't have to worry about that. Jim Kilgore, he's got a girlfriend now too. He's been with her for about a year. Jim, likewise, came out of a pretty bad divorce. He's got sons. He's 59, I believe. He's been with this chick and she is not 24, but she's younger than he is by a decade-ish, maybe more than a decade. She's in her 40s, I believe. And he's like just this side of 60. And I've seen the texts. There's no responsive desire between Jim Kilgore and his girlfriend. I 100% guarantee you that. I've seen the text. I've seen the evidence. Responsive desire is not a thing for them. It's spontaneous. It's, I want to fuck this guy. Same thing with Joe Marone. Same thing with a few of the other guys that are in my Reignite group. And no, they're not paying for it. And no, they're not sugar daddies. And no, it's like, God, it's like, I have to, I mean, this is sort of an advertisement for Reignite for sure, but I want to inform people that the idea, when you're in the situation of you're being married, you're in a sexless relationship, and women are saying, oh, well, we need to up our game, girls, because this is very important to men, because men need communication and they need these things that we need. We're going to project the things that we need in sex onto men. So if it's important to us, it must be also important to them. No, they want to fuck you. And you know why? You know how I know that? Because I look at guys who are like, in some cases, like 25 years older than the chick that they're with, maybe 30 in some cases, 25. And there's no responsive desire. There's the conversations, ladies. You're married and you're trying to figure out, like, oh, how do I get into this obligation of sex? How do I get into this duty sex more? That conversation doesn't happen. It happened for them in their marriages, right up until they became sexless, and then they got out, and then they were divorced, and now they're back into it again. And I'll tell you the thing that wakes up guys the most is when they actually get out of a bad divorce. And it could be nasty, it could be amicable, whatever. When a man gets out of a divorce or gets out of a marriage and he's 45 years old and they think, oh God, I'm fucking washed up. There's not, like, who's going to want to fuck me? And they get themselves into better shape and they get themselves in a better mind space and they get themselves together and they start learning about the modern sexual marketplace. And they realize they can and do get after it with women who are in their 20s, some 30s. They're in their 40s. Yeah, but most of these guys don't want to get, like, ladies, sorry. The guy's 45 who just got divorced, he's not looking for a 45-year-old woman. He's looking for a 35 to 25-year-old woman. Maybe even younger than that. I got one guy. I got one guy in my group. Won't name names, but several of them actually. Now I think about it. It was one guy who started dating a stripper that was here in Vegas, and now they're a thing. And no, it's not a sugar daddy thing. He lives in another state. This is only one state away, so I won't say which state. And she is now flying out to meet him rather than the other way around on her own dime, because she likes him that much. She wants to get after it with the guy. This is not negotiation. She's not going, oh, well, I'm got to convince myself to have sex with this guy. No, here's my flight number and I want to get there. And as soon as we get there, you know what we're going to do. Oh, yes, I do. No responsive desire, no communication and intimacy and romance and emotional connection. No, none of that. It's just fucking. That's what it is. Does that come afterwards? Are there other rewards? Are there other things that are worthwhile? Yes, absolutely. But it doesn't come before. Oh, yes, I am doing fiction. Sorry, I got to you already. Her telling sexless Bergs she'll enjoy sex midway through. Why do you say Gex? Is insane. I'm glad you said it. She hasn't given it a thought aside from feel-good words. Yeah, well, that's because the assumption is that men are incomplete. Men are subhuman. We're going back. Now we got to, okay, so we're going to come full circle to the beginning of the show because we're almost over. We're coming full circle. So what did I say in the beginning? That in a gynocentric social order, men are treated as subhuman. You're not even human. You're not a good human until you are, until you can emote like a woman, until you can relate like a woman, until you can identify with the feminine, until you can get in touch with your feminine side, until you can be, in some cases, you might actually have to chemically, surgically become a woman to understand, to even just glimpse the humanity, the real true humanity of the female experience, right? That's why that woman in responsive desire, and the other chick, the pastor chick, was talking about this. That's why they project female reasons for having sex onto men. Because why wouldn't they? The female experience is the correct one. They're oblivious to it. They don't even know that they're doing it. So when Rollo Tomasi comes around and says, no, it's pretty much fucking, they're like, you're going to hell. You're not a believer. or I'm giving away the game. I'm telling it like it is. And that is informing guys what they can expect from inside of a marriage. And that might put some guys off to marriage. Or guys who are in marriage, they go, okay, well, I can either say that I'm going to keep working at this because I think it's worthwhile, or I'm just going to dish it and say, fuck it, and I'm out. Because now I can see that the guys in Rollo's Reignite group can actually fuck girls that are younger than them that want to fuck them. I just got with a girl who doesn't want to fuck me because I believed in all this bullshit blue pill, nonsense that other men who don't fuck convinced me of. And that I was doing the right thing by suffering in a sexless marriage, by like the guy in the beginning of the show when I was talking about the guy who was saying, well, she just has to be there. She doesn't have to do anything. She doesn't have to bring anything to the table. I hope that's the same mentality and rationale you have when that woman doesn't want to fuck you, right? Because that's a minimum. She's got to bring that. That has to be on the table. Otherwise, there's no marriage. Sex is the glue that holds a marriage together. If that's not there, nope. As I said before, that's why I did the thought experiment in the very beginning, right? Would you get with the woman who is 100% ideal, but you could never have sex with her? Would you marry that woman? Some guys will say yes. I mean, most of them say no, but like some guys will say yes. Or they'll say, well, can I have a side piece? No. Well, what about children? Children are why you get married in the first place. Well, you can have children, but through artificial insemination, you just can never have sex with. You can never get off. You'll never have an orgasm. You'll never be naked with your woman and have an orgasm. Right? Nothing sexual, zero. But otherwise, she's a great mother, supports you, loves you, makes you sandwiches, whatever the fuck it is that you think is perfect, right? Would you still marry? No, of course not. That's not marriage. Marriage means sex, period. End of story. For guys, if it's not there, you don't have a marriage. Same thing. Like I love it when like I get this from like the guys who are pro marriage all the time. Very religious guys like Brad Wilson. They'll be like, well, men make more money. Married men make more money. Married men are healthier. Married men do more. Married men express more life satisfaction or something like that. Yeah, because they have to. They make more money because they have to make more money. Because if they're not making more money, they're divorced. They slip into this other category called divorced, and they're not married. Guys who don't live up to a certain standard, guys who don't make money, guys who aren't elite, guys who, and by elite, I mean just like even, being gainfully employed in some cases. They're not married anymore if they go from being employed to being unemployed. If they go from making a lot of money or the woman starts making more money than him, that's the number one precipitator of divorce. Guess what? Now you've gone from the married status to the divorce status. Ding, ding, ding. Is the trend of trans and incel hunt linked to women are wonderful effect? Yes and no. I think rationale wise, sure. I just gave you a reason for it, right? I mean, if you live in a gynocentric social order and to be fully human is to be female, men might take that to, men and women will take that to the natural extreme. So if you've got women who are into that thing, like I know guys, or I don't know guys personally. I know I've read stories about guys who have been divorced from their wives, who have custody of their son and have insisted that their son is born the wrong sex. And now we need to have hormone therapy and gender reconstruction. And we're going to turn Johnny into Jane, right? That's the woman enforcing the ideology on that kid and basically ruining that kid's life because they bought into this mass neurosis, right? But what is at the basis of that neurosis? What's the rationale? Well, it's better to be a woman than it is to be a man. That's why Johnny needs to become Sally. Usually it's male to female, right? Or whatever, presenting as female, right? So in a sense, yes. I think that, well, first of all, there's also, if there's three pillars of that whole argument. One of them is the women are wonderful effect. It's better to be a woman than it is to be a man in a gynocentric social order. In fact, you are subhuman if you are male in a female correct society, right? If you're male, at the very least, shut your mouth. Don't say anything while women are speaking, and don't manterrupt, and don't mansplain. And you're just this, proto-human that we have to put up with. You keep the lights on, you do the hard labor for us, but like, just don't talk to us. Just stay over there and that, be silent. We don't even want to know your existence. That's why the vast majority of men are invisible to women. They're oblivious to men unless there's somebody that is like somewhat sexually attracted to them. Like they just become like entirely invisible. But why is that? Well, we can talk about the women are wonderful effect. Then there's the autism effect, because people who identify as neurodivergent, who identify as gender, divergent, who identify as trans, who identify as multi-gendered, whatever the fuck it is, are 6 times more likely to also have some form of autism. So there's autism. There's an autism connection between trans and autism. And then there's also what I like to say is the I'm special effect, right? Which is you're not actually trans. You're just gay and boring. And you need something to set you off. So it used to be, if you were gay, you were special, man. There you go to the parades and boy, you like my gay friend. Like that made you something else, right? It made you unique to be homosexual. Now everybody's fucking gay. Who cares? It's on every fucking Netflix show. No one cares. Well, now if you're trans, I'm special. No, you're just gay and boring and you figured something out. It's just and by the way, it's not just those people. Everybody wants to feel special. Everybody does their hair in a certain way, or they'll get the nose septum piercing, or they'll get I love the nipple piercing. So I'm not gonna say I don't, but like the hairstyle, even me, man, I do the jaw strap. People used to give me shit about this too. I don't know why. I don't get it anymore, but I've done a jaw strap, like kind of, semi-beard ever since I lived in Orlando, and I had Puerto Rican barbers. And I went in there one time and I needed to get a haircut. I got a haircut and they go, "You want a fade up?" I'm like, "What the fuck's a fade up?" And so, yeah, sure. Whatever, guys. I'm like, I come there. It's this like busy, Puerto Rican barber shop, right? There's a lot of people in there, old guys, right? I get in there and they do this and they did the chin strap for me, right? Because I guess that's part of the fade up. And they did it with a straight razor and everything. I'm like, okay, this looks pretty good. So I've just been doing it ever since, right? People used to give me shit about that, but like, if you have lamb chop sideburns, you're special. If you're built, if you're a bodybuilder, if you're in good shape, you're special. If you have good style sense, you're special. If you are homosexual and you're boring, well, you can be trans and now you're special, right? You have some sort of special. Everybody wants to have some kind of thing that makes them shine and stand out. I'm not a boy. I'm a demi boy. No, you're not. They're just confused. Like, find something else. Like, you can be special. Just don't be demi boy. Okay, just be something else. Like, be a writer. Be an artist. Be some bohemian poet. I don't care what the fuck that's like. Just don't try to tell everybody that gender is like not biological. Just get the fuck out of here with it. Like, I don't like if what makes you special is like a form of like pathological neurosis, then find something else. Really, we will all be better off for that. So there you go. All right, that's it. I'm done. Dude, Puerto Ricans are the best barbers. Are you kidding me? I just saw that in the chat. Puerto Ricans are. I wish I could find a Puerto Rican barber in Las Vegas. You can only find them in. Maybe Little Havana, I guess. No, you can find them in Orlando. That's when I lived in Orlando. Shit, I would seek them out after that. Yep. What is this? I love this. Our great-great-great-grandmothers did obey their husbands 100%, and you are a simp by saying that nowadays for a woman to be 90% is enough. Stupid as fuck. Yeah. Trust me, your great-great-grandmother got naked for sailors. Everybody wants some, man. Like David Lee Roth was right, man. Everybody wants some, get some. I wish women, instead of making up rationales and trying to project their own reasons for like not wanting to have sex or having sex or why it's important that they should have sex, trying to project that onto men and what the way that men should like experience sex, like stop it. Stop it, ladies. It's not that complex. You want to say, oh, well, these men are just simple. Yeah, well, it's not that complex. You want men to be simple? You think men are simple? Yes. They're not the level of complexity that you think they are, right? It has nothing to do with complexity, but like, why can't just fucking be about fucking, right? Why can't it just be about what it is? Why can't it just be accepted that and remember, I've been picking, by the way, I've been picking on like the religious set pretty much this whole show. It's not just about religion, because I say the same thing to Coral Osborne. Coral Osborne will write these very like tour de force, like War and Peace level essays and articles about like hiring an escort. Like she got after it with an escort, so she wants to tell you all. It's a story, so it's great. It's varying. It's like reading like the Penthouse like forum letters in the back of the magazine back in the day, right? She's pretty good at writing that. She should probably get into writing erotica if it doesn't work. If the sexology thing doesn't work out, Coral, you should write erotica. But Coral is not even anything close to being a religious. She's not going to be pastor of any church anytime soon. And the first thing I've told her is, I'm like, you really overthink this. You really overthink the desire thing, especially. You need to stop like fucking boys and like get after it with a guy, a real man, like a man. Like your experience thus far has been with, like, she's used to be an escort, so I don't know who she fucked, but like now that it's no longer about, like, she's not an escort anymore, but like now it's about her own experience. I'm like, the reason you're frustrated is because you have to turn this into this big mental gymnastics every time, and it's really not that difficult. Well, we need to talk about kink. We need to talk about like compersion, and we need to talk about. Can we just fuck? Can we just, let's see how it goes, right? Let's have a good time. Can you just be in the moment and have a good time instead of like overthinking it in the moment? So this is a woman who's not religious. It's the same dynamic. She probably would say the same thing. Oh, men need to have sex because of communication and everything else. No, really. That's not what we're thinking. We don't need to communicate with the chicks that we're rubbing one out to on Pornhub. Don't have to do that. Anyways, so that's my story. I'm out. Access Vegas coming up on Wednesday, I believe. I think we're on for Wednesday. Mystery is in town. I'm supposed to go do an interview with him and Eric, who is also known as Ablaze. They are in Las Vegas. They've been in here for this weekend, and I think me and Mike are supposed to go talk to him tomorrow at Origin Studios. I don't think that'll be a live stream, but it'll be something that's recorded. Now, the other thing I have to tell you this. I have three shows that have come up. One is on, as I said before, is the Woke Autopsy is out. Go look up Woke Autopsy. And then, why you called it that? That's funny as fuck though. And then I'm on Sean Michael Kelly's show on Digital Social Hours coming up pretty soon. I'm on there with Rashad McCants on there. And I really wish he would get that out there as quick as possible, because that was a really good interview. And I hope that it comes off as well as I thought it did. And then I've also got one with Jeremy from Love House, something like that. I forget. He and his wife did the interview. You can see the clips of it on my Instagram. People keep asking me, where's the original? It's not out yet. He's just putting the clips out first. Once it's out, I will let you guys know. But I've been on three different shows recently. Supposed to go on some other ones too. If they're live streams, I usually let you guys know. But Access Vegas Wednesday, our regular time, which is now, I believe, 6:30. And we will also be at Babes in Toyland. That will be on Friday at Blake Shelton's place, not Jason Aldean's. These country guys. It'll be Blake Shelton's Ole Red at the rooftop in Las Vegas. You can go if you're in Vegas. It's open. You can go to this. You just have to, it's a charity event. So you have to do a charity donation. You can get in, you just go to the door and you can pay for it or whatever the charity mission is. I don't know what it is. But it's something you can go to. You can meet me there. I'll be taking my lovely wife of almost 30 years. Wow. Who I've seen naked and has sex with me. And Mike will be there. His girls will be there as well, as you might guess. But it's a good time. And the reason I'm making a special note of this is because the boots and bikinis one, which is what this is, it's like Babes in Toyland, but the theme is boots and bikinis. It's girls in Daisy Dukes and bikini tops and a hat, it's a Western themed kind of thing. And the girls, it's actually, I think it's probably one of the funnest ones that they do. But if you happen to be in Vegas at that time, go check it out, man. It's fun. And it's for a good cause. And then Miami, I'll be in Miami the middle of May from the 12th until the 18th. The Reignite meetup is going to be from the 15th to the 17th. The fishing trip is already full, which will be on the 16th. And the Miami White Party, the Babes in Toyland Miami White Party, will be on that Saturday, the 17th. So we'll be going on Fresh and Fit, Danza Project, whoever else wants me while I'm in Miami, I'll be doing that as well. So check that out. I think that's it. Oh, please get the book. By the way, get the book on Amazon. The reason I don't usually do a hard sell. Like I don't have my books. I guess I should probably have it behind me all the time, right? Somewhere in the background. I don't see this as a sale. I don't look at technically it is, I guess, but I don't see this as sort of like a sales thing, but pick up the Reignite book. You probably will like that, especially if you're trying to learn like what we've been talking about in this show is specific to the Reignite book. But Amazon, all 6 of my books are available. And the reason I'm saying like pick up this book, because I'm about to change this over to the hardback version. And I'm going to also take the interior, like the updated text, like I guess revised text, the revised edition is coming out very soon. Writing's already done. I'm just flowing text right now. Once that's done, I'll let you guys know. But do check that out. It's not going to change Audible. Sam Bada, still the voice of the Rational Male. You can go get that from Audible. Also, don't forget the sleeper hit, by the way, I think is probably the second book, oddly enough, which is Preventative Medicine. Everybody tells me how great that book is. So anyways, Access Vegas on Wednesday, and check my Instagram. If you haven't followed me on Instagram, please do. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. I have been kind of locked at 224,000. I fluctuate, but it's below that right now. But like I fluctuate. I don't really gain any more than 224, and I don't lose any more than about that. So I'm locked in. I'm definitely shadow banned. I'm definitely the best thing you can do to help me out is like super chats. I am going to start looking at getting Streamlabs super chats in order, because some people are telling me they try to super chat in my show or on Access Vegas and they can't do it. I'm going to alleviate that with Streamlabs. It's the only other option. I know that some of these other guys use that. I'm going to look into that so it can actually do something here and make this show worthwhile. But anything that you can do to support the show, much appreciated. Buy a book, buy some books for your friends. If you need one-on-one consultation, just email me. I'll send you the policies and you'll get my rates and everything. If you want to join Reignite, please go to reignitealpha.com. And I will see you guys next week, most likely at the regular. That's at Red One Studios. So I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.
Would you like to know more?
I need to feel you one time.
top of me. It was my first time.
Tell these bitches to go to hell.
But I was just a kid when we met and went to bed.
I'm attacking the darkness.
It was my first time. What do you expect from me? I'm breaking up the rules now in the game. I've got some new tools. Please do the same. Time came by. Open like a matchbox stereo. Time to get my thoughts now, let it go. Bound to keep me up all night.
Dump that bitch.
But maybe we can fuck again. And maybe things be different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Won't you put it on me one more again? I need to know. If maybe we can fuck again, then maybe things be different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Could have the best in my life. The best in my life. Now we're fucking in the bathroom, tearing up everywhere while I got your hair. Why you screaming my name?
That's nasty. It is nasty, right? Isn't it nasty?
She was swinging in the bedroom, whole time stopping and sleeping with her hair like she's Claudia Kelly.
Well, I'm a whore.
Run me, ride me up and down like a pony, turning up my song, getting nasty, working up and down on your body. Run me, ride me up and down like a pony, turning up my song on your body. Baby, we'll get down to it all night. But maybe we can fuck again, and maybe things be different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Won't you put it on me one more again? All right. Fuck again, then maybe things be different. Goddamn, baby, one more again.
What are you gonna do about it? I'll have to take.
Free City Podcast has been a production of the Rational Male. All rights reserved. Registered trademark 2026. Don't steal men stuff. Gotcha, bitch.
Oh, those guys are fast! Emotional damage. If maybe we can fuck again, and maybe things be different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Won't you put it on me one more again? I feel like I'm just about battery acid. Then maybe things be different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Could have the best in my life. FBI, open up! And maybe things be different. If maybe we can fuck again, then maybe things be different. The best in my life.
We say to give a woman vote is like to let a monkey fly a plane. Very dangerous.